Chapter 250. At this moment, the starry patterns on the ground of the star platform lit up with silver starlight. The entire star platform was illuminated to the tiniest detail. It was dazzling with silver light, as if it was a dream. The star platform's array was activated and condensed into a huge circular light shield that enveloped the entire star platform. With the protection of the array, everyone was safe and confidential in the star platform. The contents of the meeting would not be leaked. Everyone gathered in the center of the star platform and sat down in 8 different directions. They bathed in the starlight and began the meeting. According to the usual practice, the Sky Pillar sect was the overlord of the heavenly stellar domain. Every 8 sect meeting was presided over by the Sky Pillar sect's sect master. However, Chu Tianxing did not attend this 8 sect meeting. The sect leaders all noticed this and looked at each other with complicated expressions. After a moment of silence, the Tianjian sect's sect master spoke first. He glanced at Yun Yao and Ji Tianxing and said with a sneer, "He, Chu Tianxing has always attended the previous meetings. Why isn't he here this year? It's fine if he doesn't attend the meeting, but he actually sent 2 younger disciples to represent him. What is this? Is he looking down on our 7 great sects?" The sect masters of the other 4 sects also nodded in agreement. Their voices were filled with dissatisfaction and indignation. The Sky Pillar sect is getting more and more out of hand. They don't put us in their eyes at all. That's right. The 8th sect meeting, which is held every 2 years, is the most important meeting in the Star Ancient Realm. It is also the time for the 8 great sects to discuss important matters. How can Chu Tianxing be absent? Although the Sky Pillar sect is a 1,000-year-old sect and we are ashamed of our inferiority, the Sky Pillar sect can't humiliate us like this. Sect masters, we must ask Chu Tianxing for an explanation during the next 8 sect meeting. Yes. We must make Chu Tianxing give a reasonable explanation. Under the instigation of the Tianjian sect's sect master, the sect masters were filled with righteous indignation and denounced the Sky Pillar sect and Chu Tianxing. Of course, Granny Shui Yu of the Heart Moon sect and the sect master of the 6 Unity sect did not speak about this matter. Ji Tianxing frowned as he looked at the Sky Sword sect master and the others expressionlessly, trying to figure out what was going on. After a while, when the sect leaders finished their discussion, Yun Yao said expressionlessly, "Sect leaders, sect leader master is indeed busy and can't attend in person. As the chief disciple of our sect, I, Yun Yao, brought junior brother Tianxing here to participate in the meeting. I can fully represent the sect master." She didn't explain too much. She only used 2 short sentences to shut the sect leaders up. Even though her seniority and status were a generation lower than those of the sect masters. However, her aura and the weight of her words were not weaker than any of the sect leaders. The Tianjian sect master didn't harp on the matter. He smiled playfully and said, "Since Chu Tianxing isn't here, I'll preside over this meeting. Does anyone have any objections?" The leaders of several sects hesitated for a moment before nodding in agreement. Granny Shui Yu and the sect leader of the 6 Unity sect wanted to object, but they didn't have the advantage in numbers, so they could only give up. The Tianjian sect master took control of the situation as he wished. With a dignified expression, he spoke in a solemn tone. "Everyone, in this meeting of the 8 sects, it is the fortune of the ancient star realm and the fortune of the Tianjin region for all the sect leaders to gather here and calmly discuss important matters. In this meeting, the first problem that everyone has to face is our common enemy, the remnants of the demon clan. Since the demon clan wreaked havoc in the Tianjin region 1,000 years ago, our region has been fortunate to have 1,000 years of peace. However, if the remnants of the demon clan are not eliminated, our Tianjin region will never have a day of peace. In the past 2 years, the remnants of the demon clan have become more and more rampant. They have frequently attacked and killed the disciples of various sects in the ancient realm. Fortunately, everyone has done their best to resist and encircle them, so they haven't caused a disaster. Since everyone is gathered here today, I hope that everyone can exchange information with each other. Have you received any information or clues recently? After the Tianjian sect master finished speaking, all the sect leaders and chief disciples nodded in agreement and began to discuss in low voices. The damned demon clan is like an inexhaustible poisonous bug. That's right. We've already strictly guarded all the entrances to the ancient realm, but we still can't stop the invasion of the demon clan. The remnants of the demon clan are hiding in the ancient realm. From time to time, they'll jump out and attack the disciples of various sections. They're truly cruel and vicious. It's a pity that the demon clan's whereabouts are hidden. The ancient realm is too vast. Even if all the sects use all their strength, they won't be able to completely exterminate the demon clan. The remnants of the demon clan have fought with our 8 sects for 1,000 years. How could they be destroyed so easily? I think that this matter can only be defended for a long time. It'll be very difficult to completely eliminate them. After the sect leaders and chief disciples discussed for a while, a sect leader took the initiative to report a piece of news. Half a year ago, 3 disciples of our sect went missing for no apparent reason while training in the ancient realm. Later, we sent elders and deacons to investigate and confirmed that it was the demon clan's doing. Several elders of our sect killed more than 20 demon clan guards. They also fought with the demon clan's high priest and demoness. The high priest is at the peak of the origin core stage and isn't far from the heaven origin stage. That demoness is only in her 20s and has already reached the origin core stage. She'll definitely become an even more terrifying opponent in the future. Another sect leader nodded and said, that demoness is called Blood Moon. She's the daughter of the Blood Demon King. Her innate talent is outstanding. She'll definitely become a great threat in the future. Following that, several other sect leaders spoke one after another. They'd all come into contact with the High Priest and Blood Moon Commandery Princess. They understood that the High Priest and Blood Moon Commandery Princess had some demon Dao methods, so they spoke of them to remind everyone to be careful. Ji Tianqing silently listened and couldn't help but frown. He discovered that those sects had little contact with the demon clan and had even fewer battles. They didn't have a deep understanding of the High Priest and demoness. In comparison, the Sky Pillar sect was the demon clan's main target, so they had a better understanding of the demon clan's situation. After the sect leaders finished speaking, Yun Yao said with a solemn expression, "Sect leaders, in the past 2 months, our sect has fought with the demon clan 3 times. Just last month, our sect discovered the demon clan's temporary stronghold. Not only were there the high priest and demoness, but there were also many demon clan guards hidden there. As for how many demons there are in the demon cave, it's still unclear for the time being." Upon hearing this news, the sect leaders all revealed gratified smiles. Oh. The whereabouts of the demon clan have always been mysterious. The Sky Pillar sect actually discovered the demon clan's stronghold. This is good news. The sects haven't been able to find the demon clan's hiding place. Now that we've found the demon clan's stronghold, we can easily eliminate the remaining demon clan members. Hee, since we found the demon clan's stronghold, it's easy to handle. As long as the news is true, our sect can easily eliminate the remaining demon clan members. In the future, the ancient realm will be peaceful for a long time. Chapter 251. The demon race's forces weren't considered strong, and the 8 great sects all had the strength to single-handedly exterminate the demon race. However, the demon race's whereabouts had always been mysterious and difficult to find. It was very difficult to catch them all in one fell swoop. Since the Sky Pillar sect had discovered the demon race's stronghold, the Star Ancient Realm would soon be peaceful. However, the Tianjian sect master frowned and indifferently looked at Yun Yao, questioning her. "Yun Yao, this is only your side of the story. How can you make everyone believe you? Everyone has a deep understanding of the demon race's treachery and cunning. The sects have been fighting with the demon race for so many years, but they still haven't found the demon race's stronghold. How did you find it?" Hearing this, everyone quieted down. The sect masters also looked at Yun Yao, waiting for her explanation. Yun Yao indifferently looked at the Tianjian sect master and calmly said, Tianjian sect master, does our sect have to report to you how we found the demon race's stronghold? In such a solemn meeting of the 8 great sects, how could I speak irresponsibly and give false information? Moreover, it doesn't matter if you believe this information or not. Even if your sect doesn't participate in the extermination of the demon race and doesn't send a single soldier, our sect can easily exterminate the demon race's remnants. The Tianjian sect master frowned slightly and didn't say anything else, withdrawing his cold gaze. In his heart, he secretly thought, Humph, it's easy for you to say. If your Sky Pillar sect could really exterminate the demon race's remnants, why didn't you act earlier? Why wait until today? Although the demon race's remnants are weak, they have several supreme treasures of the demon Tao in their hands. When the Sky Pillar sect goes to exterminate the demon race's stronghold, they will certainly pay the price of casualties. If the Sky Pillar sect's people suffer heavy casualties, it's exactly what this king wants. This king is waiting for both the Sky Pillar sect and the demon race to suffer. Why would I send people to help? Thinking of this, the Tianjian sect master fell silent and indifferently looked at the stars in the sky, as if this matter had nothing to do with him. The star platform fell into silence as the sect masters expressionlessly pondered. Although it was the common task of the 8 sects to exterminate the remnants of the devil race and maintain the peace of the ancient star realm, it was still the same task. However, in the operation to exterminate the demon race, they would definitely pay the price of casualties. The several sect leaders had to weigh the gains and losses, and would not rashly participate in this matter. At this time, Granny Shueiyue said with a solemn expression, exterminating the remnants of the devil race is the common responsibility of our 8 sections. Our Heart Moon sect naturally won't stay out of it. Yun Yao, when your sect decides to take action, this old one will also send a few elite disciples to assist you. Yun Yao immediately bowed to Granny Shueiyue and said, Granny, you are wise and righteous. Yun Yao thanks you. Granny Shueiyue's wrinkled old face revealed a kind smile. She nodded and said, Yun Yao, you don't need to be so polite. It's our sect's duty to exterminate the remnants of the demon race. Following her words, the sect leader of 6 He sect also said solemnly, in the past 10 years, the remnants of the demon race have attacked and killed dozens of our sect's disciples and destroyed one of our sect's spirit veins. This time, our sect will definitely participate in the operation to exterminate the remnants of the demon race and avenge our dead disciples. Yun Yao, on the day when your sect takes action, our sect will also send out a few experts to help you. Yun Yao bowed to the sect leader of 6 He sect again to express her gratitude. Seeing this scene, the other 4 sect leaders also looked at each other and secretly exchanged opinions. Finally, another tall and burly old man with grizzled hair stood up and said in a solemn tone, My Pill Cauldron sect would also like to contribute our meager strength. We will use the heads of the remnants of the demon race as a sacrifice to our sect's disciples who were killed by the demon race. Yun Yao bowed to the sect leader of Pill Tripod sect again to express her gratitude. However, after that, no one spoke again. The Tianjian sect leader and the other 3 sect leaders sat upright with their eyes and noses lowered. Their expressions were calm and indifferent, and they had no intention of helping. Yun Yao knew very well that the other 3 sects had close ties with the Tianjian sect, so it was normal for them to have such a reaction. She ignored the Tianjian sect leader and the other 3 sect leaders and began to discuss the operation with Granny Shueiyue, the sect leader of 6 He sect, and the sect leader of Pill Tripod sect. Granny Shueiyue, sect leader Yan, sect leader Qi, thank you for your help. Tomorrow, I will send a message to our sect and send someone to investigate the stronghold of the demon race. After confirming that the remnants of the demon race haven't moved their stronghold, we will prepare to take action. Sect leader Yen of 6 He sect nodded slightly and said with a smile, That's good. The demon race has always been cunning. I'm afraid that they will escape when they hear the news and make our trip in vain. Sect leader Qi of Pill Tripod sect stroked the gray beard on his chin and nodded. Yun Yao, I believe in your ability. You will be in charge of this operation. When you are about to take action, I will send a few experts to listen to your orders and arrangements. Granny Shui Yu also showed a kind smile and nodded. That's right. You can rest assured that Yun Yao will be in charge of this. I will send a few elite disciples to assist you. As for when we will take action and the specific plan of this operation, we will contact each other when the time comes. Yun Yao, sect leader Yan, and sect leader Qi all nodded and agreed to Granny Shui Yu's proposal. The matter was settled, and the four of them quieted down. After a while, the Tianjian sect leader saw that Yun Yao and the others had finished their discussion, and then he announced the second matter in a loud voice. The mission of eliminating the remnants of the demon race will be completed by the Sky Pillar sect, 6 sect, Heart Moon sect, and Pill Tripod sect. I look forward to your triumphant return as soon as possible, completely eliminate the remnants of the demon race, and return peace to the ancient star realm. Next, I will announce an important matter. This matter concerns the fate of our 8 great sects and the entire Tianjin region. The Tianjian sect leader's voice spread throughout the entire star platform. His tone was solemn and serious. Everyone quieted down and looked at him with a solemn expression. The sect leaders clearly knew the news and guessed what he was going to announce, so they all sat there expressionlessly. The Tianjian sect leader said in a low voice, as everyone knows, the billions of humans in the 9 regions of the southern land can prosper and live on the continent under the protection of the Imperial Court of Middle Ground. The Imperial Emperor is not only the strongest person of our race, but also the guardian of our human race. With the protection of the Imperial Court, we can fight against the demon race as equals. At this point, the Tianjian sect leader bowed towards the north with a solemn and pious expression. The other sect leaders also stood up and bowed towards the northern night sky, paying their respects to the Imperial Emperor from afar. The Tianjian sect leader said in a solemn tone, 20 years ago, the Imperial Emperor and the Empress gave birth to a son. He is the Emperor of our race. The Emperor was born extraordinary, like the reincarnation of a god. At the age of 20, he reached the divine origin stage. Such extraordinary aptitude is truly rare in the past and present. Hearing this, the chief disciples of the various sects were shocked and full of respect. Only Yun Yao and Ji Tianqing's expressions remained unchanged, as calm as ever. After a while, the Tianjian sect leader continued, now, the emperor has reached the age of marriage. The Imperial Emperor has decided to let the Emperor get married next year. Not long ago, the Imperial Court of Middle Ground issued an edict to choose a heavenly consort for the Emperor from the 9 regions of the southern land. Only a talented and beautiful girl with extraordinary talent in martial arts is worthy of the Emperor's noble status. In the 9 regions of the southern land, only the number 1 genius of each region is qualified to compete for the position of heavenly consort. However, 6 of the 9 top geniuses are men, and only 3 are women. The number 1 on the star list of our region, the chief disciple of the Sky Pillar sect, Yun Yao, is one of the 3 women. Chapter 252. Everyone respected the Middle Ground Imperial Court as if they were gods, and they revered the Emperor even more. Not only did the Emperor have a noble status and unparalleled power, but he also had a godlike martial talent. Although the chief disciples present were all geniuses, they were all inferior to the Emperor. But compared to Tianzi, everyone was as insignificant as mud worms, not worth mentioning. When they heard that the Emperor was going to choose a heavenly consort and that Yun Yao had a high chance of becoming a heavenly consort, the chief disciples were filled with envy and jealousy. Some of the male disciples even wished they could become women and replace Yun Yao to compete for the heavenly consort position. The Tianjian sect master also looked at Yun Yao and said calmly, everyone knows that after the emperor abdicates, the emperor will inherit the throne and become our emperor. And the emperor's heavenly consort will also become our empress. That's the mother of the world, the supreme position that dominates the 4 seas. If Yun Yao can become a heavenly consort, not only will she become the empress in the future, but our Tianjin region will also be taken care of by the imperial court and become the most powerful region among the 9 regions. The other sect leaders also looked expectant and nodded their heads in agreement. The sect master of the true martial sect was wearing a purple robe and looked like a middle-aged scholar. He even held a white jade fan in his hand. He gently waved the fan in his hand and looked at Yun Yao with a calm expression. He said slowly, "The decree issued by the monarch is like the will of the heavens to my clan. No one can defy it. Yun Yao, the emperor wants to choose a heavenly consort. He will definitely choose from you and the other 2 girls. I've heard about the other 2 geniuses. They are both talented and beautiful. Their talents are not inferior to yours. If you want to become a heavenly consort, you have to work harder and perform well to win the emperor's favor." Yun Yao looked indifferent. She looked at the sect master of the true martial sect calmly and said, "Yun Yao naturally does not dare to defy the emperor's decree. However, Yun Yao is devoted to Tao and will never talk about love." Her meaning was clear. She could not disobey the decree of the human race's imperial emperor. She could only accept the emperor's selection with the other 2 genius women. However, she wholeheartedly pursued the peak of martial arts. She would never take the initiative to show off and win the favor of the emperor. She also did not want to be some heavenly concubine. The expressions of the true martial sect master and the other sect masters changed slightly. Surprise flashed through their eyes. At this moment, the sect leader of the Wind-Fire sect stood up. This person had a thin figure, a dark and old-fashioned face, and his entire body emanated a noble and dignified aura. He frowned and looked at Yun Yao with shining eyes. He said indifferently, "Yun Yao, the son of heaven is a dragon among men. If you can become the heavenly consort, it will be a great fortune and blessing. This is the dream of so many women. How can you be so ignorant?" The true martial sect master also said with a dignified expression, "Yun Yao. You're the #1 genius of the Tianjin region, and you've been praised and admired by the martial artists of the 10 nations for the past few years. You can be said to be glorious and unparalleled. It's time for you to make some contributions to the heavenly stellar region. As long as you become the heavenly consort, you can make the heavenly stellar region prosper and dominate. Besides, if you become the heavenly consort, it will be a joyous occasion for the entire heavenly stellar region and the Sky Pillar sect." Afterwards, the sect master of the Thousand Autumns sect also persuaded Yun Yao to do her best and strive to become the heavenly consort. Faced with the persuasion and pressure of the sect masters, Yun Yao frowned slightly, feeling a little annoyed. However, the sect masters spoke in a dignified manner and made it sound like a sacred matter that concerned the fate of the heavenly stellar region, making it difficult for her to refute and refuse. Helpless, she had no choice but to bow to the sect masters and say in an indifferent tone, "Sect masters, this matter is of great importance and Yun Yao can't make the decision. I have to go back and ask the sect master." Seeing this scene, Ji Tianqing frowned and secretly thought, no wonder the sect master used the excuse that he had something important to attend to and didn't attend this meeting. So that's the reason. The sect master must have long known about the selection of the emperor's consort, and he also knows that eldest senior sister definitely won't agree. It's inconvenient for him to express his opinion, and he can't force eldest senior sister to agree. If he attends this meeting, he will definitely be caught in the middle and find it difficult to choose. He might as well not come. Previously, he couldn't figure out why Chu Tiansheng would let him and Yun Yao attend the meeting. Now, he finally understood. The Tianjian sect master could tell that Yun Yao was being perfunctory, but he was still very opposed to this matter. He raised his eyebrows and walked to the center of the hall with a dignified expression. He said righteously, "Yun Yao, as the saying goes, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. You are the #1 genius of the heavenly stellar region, so you should work hard to fight for the position of heavenly consort for the heavenly stellar region. This is both your responsibility and your obligation. The Sky Pillar sect spent countless efforts to nurture you into the #1 genius. Shouldn't you repay the Sky Pillar sect? As long as you become the heavenly consort, you can make the Sky Pillar sect soar. For the hundreds of millions of people in the Sky Pillar sect and the heavenly stellar region, you must become the heavenly consort. Ji Tianqing looked at the Tianjian sect master's sanctimonious face. He was using the Sky Pillar sect and the heavenly stellar region to force Yun Yao to agree to fight for the position of heavenly consort. The anger in his heart grew stronger and stronger. When the other sect leaders took turns to persuade Yun Yao earnestly, he finally could not hold back his anger and stood up abruptly. Ha, what a profound and righteous principle! How hypocritical and laughable! He sneered with disdain, and the star platform fell into silence. The sect masters and chief disciples all looked at him. He ignored everyone's surprised gazes and stared at the Tianjian sect master. He sneered and said in a cold tone, "Ha, I've learned something today. Senior sister Yun Yao has already made it very clear that she wholeheartedly pursues the peak of martial arts. She doesn't want to be the heavenly consort, nor does she want to climb up the social ladder. But the sect masters keep threatening and tempting her to become the heavenly consort. You even pretended to be righteous and said that it was for the sake of the Sky Pillar sect and the people of the heavenly stellar region. I think it's for your future, right? You want to soar and make the sect prosper, but you want senior sister Yun Yao to make sacrifices and force her to do something she doesn't want to do. Why? What right do you have to criticize her?" And he even put on a righteous face. "If you want to be the heavenly consort so much, why don't you go yourself?" Ji Tianqing said a lot of things in one go, which immediately stunned everyone. His words were very sharp, and he mercilessly exposed the true faces of the sect masters and revealed their true intentions. The expressions of the Tianjian sect master and the other sect masters changed, and a sharp and cold light flashed in their eyes. The Tianjian sect master's face darkened, and he looked at Ji Tianqing coldly and sternly. He shouted in a dignified tone, "Boy, who do you think you are? You don't have the right to speak here. Moreover, the matter of selecting the heavenly consort is the emperor's decree. No one can disobey it." Chapter 253. The atmosphere in the room was a little tense. The attitude of the Heavenly Sword sect master and the other sect masters was truly overbearing. Ji Tianqing stepped forward in righteous indignation and spoke up for Yun Yao. Unfortunately, his words carried little weight, and the sect masters didn't take his words to heart. Seeing this, Grandma Shui Yu hurriedly stood up and tried to smooth things over with a kind expression. "Sect masters, please listen to this old woman. This news is very sudden for Yun Yao. She definitely isn't ready yet. Sect Master Chu isn't here and can't help her make a decision. It's useless for you to persuade her." She tapped the jade walking stick in her hand and said with a serious expression, "This matter will end here for the time being. It won't be too late to make a decision after Yun Yao goes back and discusses it with Sect Master Chu. I believe that with Yun Yao and Sect Master Chu's wisdom, they will definitely make a wise decision." "Yes, that's right." The sect master of the Six Harmonies sect nodded slightly in agreement. The Tianjian sect master and the other sect masters didn't say anything else. Everyone tacitly agreed with Grandma Shui Yu's opinion. Next, everyone discussed some matters related to the situation in the ancient realm of the stars. 4 hours later, everyone had finished what they needed to say and what they needed to discuss. The Tianjian sect master loudly announced that this session of the meeting would end here. It was late at night. The night sky was filled with bright stars, and the bright moon shone down 1,000 feet of silver light. After the meeting ended, several sect leaders led their disciples to bid farewell to the crowd and left the star platform. However, a few sect masters stayed behind. They either admired the stars in the sky on the star platform, or gathered together to discuss something in low voices. Yun Yao and Ji Tianqing naturally wouldn't stay. They weren't in the mood to admire the stars, moon, and scenery. The two of them bowed to Grandma Shui Yu, Sect Master Yen, and Sect Master Qi before leaving the star platform on their spirit cranes. The spirit cranes sped through the night sky, heading straight back to the Sky Pillar sect. Yun Yao and Ji Tianqing stood side by side on the back of the spirit crane. Their expressions were cold and solemn. Both of them were silent as they stared at the night sky in front of them, both lost in their own thoughts. After a long while, Yun Yao turned to look at Ji Tianqing and said with a somewhat complicated tone, "Junior brother Tianqing, you are usually calm and reserved. Why did you suddenly stand out tonight and scold those sect leaders furiously? Aren't you worried that those sect masters will vent their anger on you because of this?" In fact, when Ji Tianqing stood up for her and spoke up for her, denouncing the Tianjian sect master and the other sect leaders, she was touched and worried for Ji Tianqing. Ji Tianqing shook his head and said with a calm expression, "The Tianjian sect master and those sect leaders are pretending to be benevolent and righteous. It's disgusting. They are so aggressive and forced eldest senior sister to do something you don't want to do. Of course I can't sit idly by and do nothing. I only want to scold them in my righteous anger. Why would I care so much?" Yun Yao's clear eyes stared at him. Her tone was calm, but her expression was serious. She asked, "You don't want me to be a heavenly consort either, right?" "Of course." Ji Tianqing nodded without hesitation. After he finished speaking, he came back to his senses. He faintly felt that Yun Yao's words had a deeper meaning. He saw that Yun Yao's clear eyes seemed to contain a strange color. His heart suddenly skipped a beat. He hurriedly turned his head away and stopped looking at her deep eyes. He pretended to be calm as he looked forward and explained. "Eldest senior sister, you are obsessed with martial arts. This is something everyone knows. You have your own choices and your own path to walk. Of course you won't be at the mercy of others. The Tianjian sect master and those sect leaders are all selfish hypocrites. They actually want you to sacrifice yourself for the benefit of their respective sects. How hateful." Yun Yao only responded and nodded. She didn't say anything else. After that, the two of them fell silent and stopped talking about this matter. 12 hours later, it was noon the next day. The spirit crane finally returned to the Sky Pillar sect. Yun Yao and Ji Tianqing rushed straight to Qishao Peak. They landed outside the Sky Pillar Palace and entered the main hall together. The guards guarding the entrance of the main hall hurriedly came forward and greeted the two of them. Yun Yao said that she wanted to see the sect leader and that she had something important to report. The guard turned around and entered the hall to report the news. The two of them entered the Sky Pillar Palace and waited in the main hall for a while before Chu Tiansheng walked in and sat on the sect leader's throne. Disciple greets sect leader master. Yun Yao and Ji Tianqing hurriedly bowed to Chu Tiansheng. Chu Tiansheng nodded slightly and asked with a dignified expression, "The meeting ended so quickly. What did the 8 sects discuss when they gathered?" Yun Yao hurriedly reported the plan to eliminate the remaining demons to Chu Tiansheng in detail. After Chu Tiansheng finished listening, he nodded and said, "That's good too. The remaining demons have been entrenched in the ancient realm for too long. It's time to eliminate them as soon as possible. The Tianjian sect and those other sects all have dirty thoughts and are unwilling to participate in the operation. This is something that I have long expected. Since the Heart Moon sect, Sixi sect, and Pill Cauldron sect all want to participate, then according to what they said, Yun Yao, you will be in charge of the operation this time. You must make thorough arrangements." Yun Yao bowed and said calmly, "Disciple understands." Chu Tiansheng was silent for a moment. He stared at Yun Yao and Ji Tianqing and asked in a deep voice, "Other than the operation to eliminate the demons, that matter, you already know about it, right?" Yun Yao and Ji Tianqing both nodded. Chu Tiansheng asked Yun Yao, "What do you plan to do with this matter?" Yun Yao cupped her hands and said firmly, "Disciple only wants to pursue the peak of martial arts. I have no intention to talk about marriage. Chu Tianxing nodded and revealed an expression that said, as expected. He was Yun Yao's master. Of course, he understood Yun Yao's nature and had already guessed that Yun Yao would not agree. He frowned and said in a serious tone, Yun Yao, regarding the matter of the emperor choosing a wife, master will not make a decision for you, nor will I force you. This matter is entirely up to you. However, master needs to tell you about the situation between the Tian-Xian continent and the central state. At this point, Chu Tianxing's tone became serious and deep. He said slowly, there are 5 major regions in the Tian-Xian continent. They are the East, West, North, South, and the central state. The central state is the core of the continent and the most prosperous place. It is controlled by the 4 great imperial courts. The 4 great imperial emperors are the strongest and leaders of each race. The 4 great imperial emperors are the Southern Human Emperor, the Eastern Water Emperor, the Northern Demon Emperor, and the Western Goblin Emperor. The south of the continent is the territory of the human clan. There are 9 major regions, hundreds of kingdoms, tens of thousands of sects and forces, and hundreds of millions of people. Chapter 254. Before this, Ji Tianxing had read history books and had some understanding of the situation in the Tian-Xian continent. However, the history books only introduced the 4 great imperial courts and the 4 great imperial emperors. It was not detailed enough. Now that he heard Chu Tianxing's explanation, he had a clearer understanding of the situation in the continent. Chu Tianxing continued, to the east of the continent is the endless Eastern Sea. The Eastern Sea and the Eastern Sea are both occupied by the Water Clan. The Flood Dragon Clan is the emperor and leader of the Water Clan. In the ancient times, before the human imperial court was established, the Eastern Water Clan kept on expanding to the south. They once wantonly invaded our territory and massacred billions of people. Fortunately, the human imperial emperor appeared out of nowhere and established the human imperial court. He led the human army to resist the Water Clan's invasion and drove them back to the east. Today, after almost 10,000 years, the Water Clan and our clan are divided and do not invade each other. This is all thanks to the human imperial court. Pausing, he looked deeply to the north and said in a heavy tone, the demon clan in the north is even more savage and bloodthirsty. They are ambitious and want to escape from the bitter cold in the north. In the ancient times, the demon clan roamed everywhere. They burned, killed, and plundered all over the continent. Especially us humans are the weakest and the most oppressed by the demon clan. It is because of the imperial court's protection and resistance that the demon clan that fled to the south was exterminated. They were forced to retreat to the north and continue to hide in the bitter cold. If not for the imperial court's protection, I am afraid our clan would have been completely exterminated by the demon clan. Today, our clan still has a blood feud with the demon clan. There are still demons causing trouble in our territory. As for the west of the continent, it is a chaotic place where hundreds of clans gather. Only the demon clan is the strongest and leads the hundreds of other clans. Now it is a peaceful time. The demon clan and our clan can live peacefully. This is also due to the imperial court's contribution and prestige. In the ancient times, the demon clan's persecution and killing of our clan was second only to the demon clan. Therefore, in the history books of the human race, there is no distinction between demons, and they are treated equally. After listening to Chu Tianxing's narration, Ji Tianxing had a deeper understanding of the situation in the profound sky continent and the prestige of the central continent imperial court. He nodded and said in a heavy tone, in that case, in the ancient times, our human race lived in an abyss of suffering and was bullied and harmed by other races. Chu Tianxing nodded slightly and said seriously, of course. It is also because of this that the Central Continent Imperial Court is the leader of our race. The past imperial emperors are the protectors of our race. Their statuses are so high that they are close to that of gods. At this point, Chu Tianxing was silent for a while and looked at Yun Yao with burning eyes. However, Yun Yao did not have any reaction. Her expression was still cold and indifferent. No matter how sacred the monarch's position was, or how noble the Son of Heaven's identity was, she was indifferent. Chu Tiansheng saw Yun Yao's firm attitude, so he didn't say anything more. He just said in a serious tone, "Yun Yao, that's all I have to say. Think about it yourself. You can't disobey the imperial emperor's orders. You and the other two geniuses will be selected by the imperial court and the emperor. If you don't want to become the imperial concubine, then let nature take its course. No matter what the final result is, it's fate." His words could be considered as the final conclusion of this matter. Yun Yao immediately bowed and said, "Thank you, master." Chu Tiansheng nodded and stopped talking about this matter. At this time, Ji Tianxing cupped his hands and asked, "Master, how is the situation in the Dragon Mountain ancient tomb?" At the mention of this matter, Chu Tianxing frowned and shook his head. "Yesterday, I went to the Dragon Mountain ancient tomb to take a look. The Tianyuan formation is indeed extraordinary. It far surpasses all the Tianyuan formations in the Tianjin region. Its complexity and power are rare. Even the Grand Elder and I are helpless against that Tianyuan formation. We can't break it at all." Ji Tianqing had already guessed that this would be the result, so he was not surprised. He raised his eyebrows and asked in a deep voice, "Master, even our sect can't break that formation. Doesn't that mean that no one in the Tianjin region can break it? How will our sect deal with it?" Chu Tiansheng nodded slightly and said in a serious tone, "Even if no one can break that formation for the time being, Dragon Mountain is our sect's territory. That ancient tomb also belongs to our sect. Several elders will still stay in Dragon Mountain to guard that ancient tomb and continue to study and investigate. I believe that with the wisdom of our sect's many array masters, they will be able to break that formation sooner or later." Hearing this, Ji Tianqing knew what was going on and did not ask any more. Chu Tiansheng also waved his hand and said to the two, "If there's nothing else to report, you can leave and rest. Yun Yao, you have to plan and deploy the operation to eliminate the demons. No matter how many people you need, you can mobilize them from our sect." Disciple obeys. Yun Yao bowed, then said goodbye to Ji Tianqing and left the hall. After walking out of the heaven-raising hall, the two stood in the square outside the hall and stopped at the same time. Yun Yao looked at Ji Tianqing and said with a gentle expression, "Junior brother Tianqing, you can go back and rest first. I'll send someone to investigate the situation in the demon cave first. After the news is confirmed, we'll start the operation. This matter can't be rushed. We can only leave in 3 days at the earliest. I'll send you a message at that time." Ji Tianqing nodded and cupped his hands to say goodbye. Then, he turned and left. After returning to Tianqing's courtyard, he said a few words to his maid, Xiao Shuang, and went straight to the secret chamber to cultivate in seclusion. The series of events that had happened recently had made him feel a lot of pressure in his heart. He was eager to improve his strength. The most important thing was the duel with Bai Wuchen in the Heaven List tournament next month. He only had more than a month left. He had to do his best to improve his strength to have a good chance of winning. After entering the secret chamber, he sat cross-legged in the spirit-gathering array. He took out 2 5-colored spiritual stones and held them in his palms. Then, he started to cultivate. Ever since he had obtained over 100 spirit stones, he had discovered that spirit stones had unimaginable benefits for cultivation. The spiritual qi contained in the spiritual stones was very rich and pure. There were no impurities. He could directly absorb it and refine it into his own true core strength. Using the spiritual stones to cultivate was more efficient than taking elixirs. Soon, Ji Tianqing absorbed the spiritual qi in the spiritual stones. The spiritual qi ran quickly in the 9 sword veins in his body and turned into true core strength. With the help of the spiritual stones, he started to refine the acupuncture points on the 2nd sword vein. When he entered the state of cultivation, he was not aware of the passage of time. He was fully focused on the sword vein and acupuncture points. Unknowingly, 2 days had passed. Ji Tianqing successfully refined an acupuncture point, making it wider and tougher. It could store a large amount of true core strength. Chapter 255. That night, Ji Tianqing ended his cultivation and walked out of the secret chamber. Xiao Shuang, the maidservant, was waiting outside the door. When she saw him coming out, she quickly reported the news. Senior brother Ji, eldest senior sister sent a message this afternoon. She said that we'll depart tomorrow morning. She'll wait for you at the usual place. The usual place? Ji Tianqing was stunned for a moment. Then, a smile flashed in his eyes. In the few months since he entered the Sky Pillar sect, he had gone out with Yun Yao a few times. They had met at the square at the foot of the Sky Pillar peak. Of course, he could guess that the usual place that Yun Yao mentioned was the square at the foot of the Sky Pillar peak. All right, I got it. You may leave. Ji Tianqing waved his hand. After Xiao Shuang left, he returned to his room to rest and prepare for tomorrow's operation. Although Yun Yao was in charge of planning and deploying the demon-slaying mission, he had to be fully prepared. The night passed by quickly. The next morning, Ji Tianqing left the Tianqing courtyard and went down the Sky Pillar peak. When he arrived at the square at the foot of the mountain, he saw a huge spirit crane standing on the square. Yun Yao was standing on the back of the spirit crane, waiting quietly. Next to the spirit crane was a huge red bear. On the back of the bear sat a burly man who was as strong as an iron tower. This man was the elite disciple, Hao Meng. He was riding the fiery red bear and carrying a huge red sword on his back. Other than Yun Yao and Hao Meng, there were 10 inner court disciples in white robes accompanying them. These inner court disciples were all powerful. Their strength was around the 5th level of the mystic enlightening realm. 2 days ago, Yun Yao had spread the news in the inner court that she would lead a team to annihilate the stronghold of the demon clan. Many inner court disciples eagerly signed up for the mission after hearing the news. Yun Yao picked these 10 people out of the many disciples who signed up. In this operation, they could contribute to the annihilation of the demon clan and receive rewards from the sect. It could be said that they were killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Seeing that Ji Tianqing had arrived at the square, the 10 inner disciples silently sized him up with complicated expressions. Everyone in the Sky Pillar sect knew that he had issued a letter of challenge to Bai Wuchen. Everyone had different opinions about this matter. However, these 10 inner disciples clearly believed that Ji Tianqing would win without a doubt. They didn't think highly of him. Of course, Ji Tianqing was the head disciple after all. Even if they talked behind his back, they didn't dare to show any contempt and ridicule in front of him. Eldest senior sister. Senior brother Hao. Ji Tianqing came to the front of the crowd and bowed to Yun Yao and Hao Meng with cupped fists. Yun Yao nodded slightly in response. Hao Meng also cupped his hands in return and nodded. All right, now that everyone is here, let's go. Yun Yao said solemnly. Ji Tianqing jumped onto the back of the spirit crane and walked to Yun Yao's side. Seeing this scene, the 10 inner disciples' expressions changed slightly. Envy and jealousy flashed in their eyes as they cursed in their hearts. After that, Yun Yao rode the spirit crane and carried Ji Tianqing into the sky, leaving the Sky Pillar sect. Hao Meng rode the crimson flame violent bear and led the 10 inner disciples on horseback on the ground. The spirit crane flew high in the sky. Ji Tianqing and Yun Yao stood side by side and looked ahead calmly. No one could disturb them. Ji Tianqing then asked Yun Yao, eldest senior sister, where are the people from the Heart Moon sect, 6 He sect, and Pill Tripod sect? Are we going directly to the demon cave? Yun Yao shook her head gently and explained, I've already sent people to investigate. The demon clan is still entrenched in that demon cave. However, the demon clan seems to be on guard. We can't meet near the demon cave to avoid alerting them. I've already sent a message to the people from the 3 sects and arranged to meet at the Gourd Mountain. It's still 200 miles away from the demon cave and won't be discovered by the demon clan. Ji Tianqing nodded repeatedly and smiled. I knew that you had a plan and arrangement, eldest senior sister. No wonder the leaders of the three sects trust you so much and let you command this operation. Yunyao only nodded slightly and didn't say anything. Both of them were silent as they stared ahead and watched the spirit crane cross thousands of mountains and rivers. About 4 hours later, the sun was high up in the sky. The spirit crane finally arrived at the gourd mountain and landed on a grassland at the peak of the mountain. Ji Tianqing and Yunyao jumped off the spirit crane and stood on the grassland to wait for half an hour before Hao Meng and the 10 inner disciples arrived one after another. Hao Meng rode the crimson flame violent bear and could barely keep up with the spirit crane's speed. The 10 inner disciples were all riding chasing wind horses. It was still all right for them to travel on flat ground, but they were much inferior when it came to crossing mountains and ridges. Everyone, rest here. We'll wait here for the people from the three sects to meet up. Yunyao gave the order. All the disciples got off their horses and sat on the grassland to rest and recover their strength. Time passed quickly and an hour passed quickly. At this time, a huge green bird flew from the sky to the top of the mountain. It circled around the mountain before landing. Ji Tianqing recognized that the huge green bird was the spirit beast green bird. In terms of bloodline grade and strength, it was almost on par with Yunyao's spirit crane. A dignified and elegant white-robed woman stood on the green bird as if she had walked out of a painting. She was the top disciple of the Heart Moon sect. Feng Min. Ji Tianqing had met her on the star platform before. Feng Min jumped down from the back of the green bird and walked toward Yunyao and Ji Tianqing elegantly. When she was near, a smile appeared on her beautiful face. She bowed slightly and said, Senior sister Yunyao, Feng Min is late. Yunyao also bowed slightly and returned the greeting. Subsequently, Feng Min greeted Hao Meng and Ji Tianqing. Not long after, a group of white-robed women rode the spirit beast wildebeest up the mountain and arrived beside everyone. There were a total of 9 young women in this group. Although they each had their own merits, their temperament was gentle and elegant. They exuded the simple and elegant aura that only the Heart Moon sect's disciples had. After Feng Min's introduction, everyone found out that the group of 9 white-robed women were the inner disciples of the Heart Moon sect. 2 of them were elite geniuses whose strength had reached level 7 of the mystic comprehending stage. The other 7 were outstanding inner disciples whose strength was around level 5 of the mystic comprehending stage. After exchanging pleasantries, everyone continued to wait. Another 2 hours passed and it was noon when the people from the 6 He sect arrived. The leader was the top disciple of the 6 He sect. He brought 9 inner disciples with him and all of them were strong. The people from the Elixir Tripod sect finally arrived in the afternoon. After all, the Elixir Tripod sect was quite far from here. Even if they started their journey at dawn, they would still have to travel for 8 hours continuously. There were also 10 people from the Elixir Tripod sect. The leader was also the top disciple of the sect. Ji Tianqing had seen this person on the star platform before. After everyone from the 3 sects had arrived, more than 40 mystic comprehending stage martial artists gathered on the grassland on the mountain peak. They were all young disciples from various sections. Chapter 256. In order to keep it a secret, Yunyao only gathered a few elite geniuses from the 3 sects and explained the plan to them. Today, the disciples of the 4 sects are gathered here. We will work together to destroy the demon clan's stronghold. This is a matter of great importance. We can only succeed. There are many demon clan guards hiding in the demon cave. Although we don't know the exact number, we are sure that they outnumber us. Therefore, we can only use our wits and not force our way in. The elite disciples nodded in agreement at Yunyao's words. Seeing that no one had any objections, Yunyao continued, for today's operation, we have to act separately and carefully to avoid alerting the demon clan. Although there are many demon clan guards in the demon cave, they are only at the mystic enlightening realm. They are not a threat. The only real experts in the demon cave are the High Priest and the Blood Moon Infanta. Both of them have reached the origin core realm. When the time comes, junior sister Feng Min, junior brother Hao Meng, and junior brother Wu Yu from the 6E sect will try to distract the High Priest and the Blood Moon Infanta. The rest of the disciples will charge into the demon cave and eliminate the demon clan guards. We only need to leave a few people to guard the exits of the demon cave to ensure that no one escapes. After listening to Yun Yao's deployment arrangements, the elite disciples discussed in low voices for a while before nodding in agreement, indicating that they would comply. However, Ji Tianqing frowned slightly and said, "Great senior sister, I want to work with you to distract the witch and the high priest. I have fought with them a few times. They hate me very much. It's more suitable for me to distract them." Originally, Ji Tianqing wanted to work with the other disciples to kill the Mystic Enlightening Realm demon clan guards in the demon cave according to Yun Yao's arrangement. This was safer for him as there would not be any accidents. However, she did not expect that Ji Tianqing would take the initiative to distract the witch and the high priest. The elite disciples looked at Ji Tianqing in unison with a trace of surprise and doubt in their eyes. Everyone could see that he was only at the second level of the Mystic Enlightening Realm. He could deal with the ordinary demon clan guards, but he would be in danger if he went up against the witch and the high priest. But he just had to take the initiative to ask for a battle. Wasn't this sending a lamb to the tiger's den? Yun Yao's expression didn't change. She said calmly, "Junior brother Tianqing, you've entered the devil cave with me before. You know the situation inside the devil cave better. You should lead everyone into the devil cave and kill the guards of the devil race. That would be more appropriate." Hao Meng also patted his shoulder and said in a low voice, "Junior brother Ji, the high priest and the witch are too strong. Even the four of us can only hold them back. We don't dare to say that we can kill them. You should listen to eldest senior sister's arrangements." Ji Tianqing shook his head and said with a smile, "Leave those ordinary demon guards to the other disciples. You don't have to worry about me. We have the advantage in numbers. How can I be in any danger when we surround the witch and the high priest?" Seeing his stubbornness, the elite disciples didn't say anything more. Yun Yao looked at him deeply and nodded in agreement. After the plan was laid out, everyone set off and quickly rushed to the devil cave. About 2 hours later, the disciples of the four sects arrived near the devil cave. They stopped at a mountain peak and tied the horses and spirit beasts to the forest on the mountain peak. When Ji Tianqing, Yun Yao, and Bai Wuchen were on a mission, they left the 2 spirit beasts on this mountain peak. Opposite this mountain peak was the mountain peak where the devil cave was located. There was a large canyon between the 2 mountains. After everyone settled down the spirit beasts and horses, they went down the mountain lightly. They crossed the deep canyon and climbed up the mountain peak where the devil cave was located. The disciples of the 4 sects were divided into 5 teams and spread out to act. Yun Yao, Ji Tianqing, Hao Meng, Wu Yu, and Feng Min formed a team. They were responsible for luring the high priest and the witch away. The remaining 4 teams were responsible for guarding the exits of the devil cave and entering the devil cave to kill the guards of the devil race. There were about 10 people in each team, and they were all outstanding disciples of their respective sections. They were quite strong. With such an orderly operation, they would definitely be able to complete the mission smoothly. There would be no accidents. Everyone quietly climbed up the mountain peak and spread out to carry out the mission. Yun Yao led Ji Tianqing and the others directly to the entrance of the devil cave and started the operation. She used her sword to push away the thorns that were blocking the entrance of the cave. Then, she used her array formation skills to break the protective array formation of the cave. In just a short span of 100 breaths, she broke the array formation of the cave. The pitch-black entrance of the cave appeared in front of everyone. It was constantly emitting traces of devil qi and coldness. Yun Yao asked Hao Meng, Feng Min, and Wu Yu to lie in ambush at the entrance of the cave. She led Ji Tianqing into the entrance and sneaked into the devil cave. In the pitch-black tunnel, she led the way in front and sped silently. Ji Tianqing followed closely behind her. The two of them had been here before and had entered and exited this tunnel twice. The dark tunnel was still as dark and quiet as usual. It was faintly filled with the aura of death. Yunyao held the cold moon sword in her hand and looked ahead with sharp eyes. She also released her spiritual consciousness to check the surroundings. Ji Tianqing followed behind her with the black dragon sword in his hand. His expression was solemn and indifferent. After about 15 minutes, the two of them finally passed through the dark and winding tunnel and entered the interior of the Devil Cave. The two of them walked into the spacious cave. They saw the devil god statue in the cave again and the 6 black stone doors on the walls of the cave. The light in the cave was dim. Many gemstones were inlaid on the ceiling of the cave, emitting a faint light. Yunyao and Ji Tianqing were not in a hurry to take action. They hid in a corner of the cave and secretly observed for a while. Ji Tianqing used his spiritual consciousness and secretly transmitted his voice to Yunyao. There are 2 stone doors on the right. One of them hides the White Bone Mountain, and the other is to imprison the souls of the martial artists. The last time we were here, I remember that the high priest and the demoness seemed to have walked out from that stone door. As he spoke, he pointed at a stone door on the opposite side of the cave. Yunyao frowned slightly. After pondering for a moment, she nodded and said, "Okay, follow me." She led Ji Tianqing through the spacious cave and felt her way toward the stone door. The cave was quiet. There was no sound at all. It faintly revealed a stifling feeling. When they arrived in front of the dark brown stone door, Yunyao stared at the array patterns and symbols on the stone door. She frowned and pondered for a moment before she started to break the array. The last time the 3 of them came to the Devil Cave to search for Ji Ling's soul, Bai Wuqian had used the mysterious pagoda to quickly break the array on the stone door. Yunyao did not have the mysterious pagoda. She could only rely on her own array skills to break the array step by step. Time passed quietly. 15 minutes passed quickly, but she still had not broken the array. Chapter 257. Ji Tianqing and Yunyao were standing outside the stone door, and there was nothing that could hide them. Moreover, Yunyao was still waving her palm to release True Essence Brilliance to break the array formation of the stone door. Not far away, the 6 demon guards immediately saw the two of them. After being stunned for a moment, the demon guards immediately roared angrily, drew their swords, and rushed over. Humans are invading. Damn human worms, you're courting death. Kill them. The angry shouts of the demon guards reverberated in the spacious cave for a long time. Although they were speaking the demon language, Ji Tianqing and Yunyao couldn't understand. But the two of them knew that their whereabouts had been exposed, and this would definitely alarm many demon guards. Yunyao immediately gave up on breaking the array formation and fled to the exit with Ji Tianqing without hesitation. The 6 demon guards didn't think much about it. They subconsciously waved their swords and chased after them, and began to chase and attack. When Yunyao and Ji Tianqing escaped to the middle of the cave, they were surrounded by the 6 demon guards. The two sides began to fight. The demon guards attacked with murderous intent. As they fought, they roared, and the huge sound waves kept reverberating in the cave. Yunyao drew her cold moon sword with a clang and slashed out a huge dazzling sword light, which swept towards the demon guards. The demon guards were immediately forced to retreat. 2 of them retreated slower, and their arms were chopped off by the sword light on the spot. Purple blood splattered everywhere. Ji Tianqing also brazenly waved his black dragon sword and slashed out a dragon-shaped sword shadow that seemed to split heaven and earth. He split a demon guard into 2 halves with one slash. In the blink of an eye, the encirclement of the demon guards was broken. Yunyao and Ji Tianqing didn't continue to fight. They continued to flee towards the entrance of the demon cave. The demon guards were extremely shocked, and they became even more furious. surging murderous aura surged from their bodies. At this moment, a stone door on the left side of the cave opened, and a few more demon guards rushed out of the stone door, roaring as they rushed over. Before Ji Tianqing and Yun Yao could retreat far, they were surrounded by the guards of the Devil Clan. The two of them brandished their swords and launched a counterattack with exquisite sword skills, constantly injuring or killing one demon guard after another. However, if one were to take a closer look, they would realize that the two of them were not paying attention to the guards at all. Even when they were fighting the demon guards, the two of them were always staring at the stone door opposite the cave. Unknowingly, 100 breaths had passed. Ji Tianqing and Yun Yao retreated to the entrance of the cave and killed more than 10 demon guards. On the ground of the cave, there were more than a dozen incomplete corpses. The ground was covered in dark purple blood, and the air was filled with the thick smell of blood. At this moment, the stone door on the opposite side of the cave finally opened. A 2-meter-tall elder in a black robe and barefoot stepped out of the stone door, full of anger. Without a doubt, this was the high priest of the Devil Clan. Following him out of the stone door was a tall woman in a black robe. She was the demoness, Blood Moon Infanta. The two of them were having a discussion when they were alarmed by the fighting in the cave. They rushed over to see what was going on. When they saw the figures of Ji Tianqing and Yun Yao, their expressions changed instantly, and intense cold light surged out of their eyes. Yun Yao. Ji Tianqing. It's actually you. You two little bitches, how dare you barge into the demon cave? There's a path to heaven, but you don't take it. There's no door to hell, but you barge in. Today, the two of you will definitely die. The High Priest and Blood Moon Infanta were unable to restrain their anger. They shouted coldly and turned into black fog, pouncing on Ji Tianqing and Yun Yao. Seeing this, Yun Yao and Ji Tianqing thought to themselves, they're finally here. The two of them slashed out with their swords and instantly killed 2 demon guards. Then, they turned around and rushed into the entrance of the demon cave without hesitation. They escaped along the passageway. The High Priest and Blood Moon Infanta were filled with killing intent and were about to go crazy. How could they let the two of them escape so easily? Where do you think you're going? Die for me. You two damn bastards, I let you escape last time. This time, you're dead. The High Priest and Blood Moon Infanta roared and rushed over. They also entered the entrance of the demon cave and pursued with all their might. In the dark and gloomy passageway, Yun Yao and Ji Tianqing ran with all their might and rushed out as fast as they could. But even so, the High Priest and Demoness were still catching up. The distance between the two of them was getting closer and closer. Yun Yao ran at the front while Ji Tianqing followed closely behind her. The two of them had only run a few miles when Ji Tianqing's speed fell behind a lot. He pulled away from Yun Yao. The High Priest and Demoness were about to catch up with Ji Tianqing in anger. At this critical moment, Yun Yao immediately slowed down. When Ji Tianqing caught up with her, she stretched out her hand and pulled Ji Tianqing's hand. Then, she sped up and ran out of the cave. Ji Tianqing's hand was pulled by her. He only felt that his palm was cool and soft, but a trace of warmth flowed through his heart. The distance between the two of them increased again. The High Priest and Blood Moon Infanta roared angrily and swore to tear the two of them into pieces. After 15 minutes, Yun Yao and Ji Tianqing finally rushed out of the cave and escaped from the demon cave. The two of them returned to the forest at the foot of the mountain. When they saw the blue sky and the scorching sun again, they felt as if they had seen the light of day again. The two of them didn't slow down at all. They rushed into the forest without looking back. Immediately after, the High Priest and Blood Moon Infanta also rushed out of the demon cave. They persevered and chased after Yun Yao and Ji Tianqing. Bitches from the Sky Pillar sect, die. The two of you still want to escape this time. Dream on. The High Priest and Blood Moon Infanta roared and rushed into the depths of the forest. The killing intent that burst out from their bodies covered the forest with a layer of coldness. The two of them were about to catch up with Yun Yao and Ji Tianqing. They were less than 20 meters away from each other. But at this moment, a few dazzling sword lights suddenly lit up in the forest on both sides. They were like lightning striking towards them. Swish! 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 The High Priest and Blood Moon Infanta were at the critical moment of their fury. They weren't on guard against the ambush in the forest and were immediately slashed by the sword lights. Bang! 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 Their black robes were torn apart by the sword lights, and a few pieces of cloth fell to the ground. Moreover, the two of them were also forced back a few steps by the power of the sword lights. 2 bloody wounds appeared on their bodies. In the next moment, Feng Min, Hao Meng, and Wu Yu all rushed out. They waved their swords with all their might and attacked the two of them from all sides. Yun Yao and Ji Tianqing, who were desperately fleeing a moment ago, had also returned. They waved their swords and joined the battle. Before the High Priest and Blood Moon Infanta could react, they were immediately besieged by the 5 people. They were forced to retreat by the sword lights that filled the sky. Damn it! There was actually an ambush. Despicable human bastards. How dare you scheme against us? You're courting death. The two of them immediately counterattacked and cursed angrily. Yun Yao, Ji Tianqing, and the others were silent. They besieged the High Priest and Blood Moon Infanta with all their strength. Chapter 258. Before the operation, Yun Yao had already made the deployment plan. Therefore, everyone had a clear division of labor and carried out the plan in an orderly manner. Yun Yao, Feng Min, and Wu Yu attacked the High Priest with all their strength, while Hao Meng and Ji Tianqing attacked the Blood Moon Infanta from the front and back. Both parties started fighting in the forest. Instantly, the sky turned dark, and the shadows of swords and sabers covered the sky, crushing countless flowers and trees. Peng peng peng, muffled sounds, as well as ding ding dang dang, sounds of swords clashing against each other, echoed throughout the forest. Streams of raging energy spread out in all directions like transparent ripples, engulfing an area of 100 meters in radius. The forest turned into a mess. Debris flew everywhere, and trees fell one after another. After fighting for a while, the situation stabilized. Although the High Priest and the Blood Moon Infanta were ambushed by everyone and were caught off guard, they were still in a disadvantageous position. At the beginning of the battle, the two of them were indeed in a difficult situation and were in a passive position. However, after a while, the two of them stabilized their footing and no longer panicked. They started to counterattack in an orderly manner. The High Priest was indeed an expert at the peak of the origin core stage. Even though he was surrounded by Yun Yao, Feng Min, and Wu Yu, he did not fall into a disadvantageous position. He did not use any demonic treasures. He only used his fists and legs and relied on his extremely powerful attacks to fight evenly with the 3 of them. The 3 of them were all chief disciples of various sects and were martial arts geniuses that were 1 in a million. Of course, their strength and techniques were not ordinary. Even so, other than Yun Yao who could fight the High Priest head-on, Feng Min and Wu Yu could only tangle with him and did not dare to fight head-on. The 3 of them kept waving their swords and slashing out sharp sword rays that covered the sky and covered the High Priest's figure. The High Priest advanced and retreated in an orderly manner to avoid the sword rays and counterattacked with his fists and legs. His fists struck out balls of blood-red fist shadows, each of which aimed at the vital points of the 3 of them and forced them to retreat continuously. The blood-red fist shadows were very powerful and caused the air to vibrate and explode. Every time they hit a big tree in the forest, the tree that was as thick as a bucket would be smashed into pieces. The 4 silhouettes leaped up like rabbits and swooped down like hawks. They fought back and forth, gradually moving away from the Devil's Cave and into the depths of the forest. On the other side, Hao Meng and Ji Tianqing were engaged in an intense battle with the Blood Moon Infanta. Hao Meng's white robe was already in tatters. He tore it off and threw it away. He was bare-chested and only wore a pair of leather shorts, revealing his bulging muscles. His body was as sturdy as an iron tower, his skin was dark, and his arms were as thick as his waist. At this moment, he was holding a huge crimson sword that was as wide as a bench with both hands. His eyes were glaring angrily as he constantly roared and attacked with the sword. He was simply like a human-shaped tyrannosaurus. His feet stomped heavily on the ground, emitting a muffled peng-peng sound, and actually caused the ground to tremble. The crimson greatsword, which was nearly 2 meters long and as wide as a bench, was also surrounded by dark red flames. It carried a tyrannical power as it ruthlessly slashed out. Swoosh! Swish! Every time Hao Meng slashed out, the greatsword would burst out with flaming sword radiance, as if it was going to split the Blood Moon Infanta in half. He attacked the Blood Moon Infanta in an extremely tyrannical and ferocious manner. He was like a ferocious giant beast that wanted to crush everything in its path. There were many big trees in the forest, and they were all as thick as a person's waist. When these big trees were slashed by the great sword, they were all cut in half, and the cut area was as black as charcoal. At the same time when Hao Meng was attacking ferociously, Ji Tianqing had also put away the black dragon sword. He used the supreme technique of the sword Heart Dao and constantly controlled the sword radiance to attack. Swish! 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 The golden sword radiance was as fast as flowing light and attacked the Blood Moon Infanta from all directions. Every sword radiance was aimed at her vital points. Ji Tianqing had almost died in the hands of the Blood Moon Infanta several times. He already hated the Blood Moon Infanta to the core. If he had the chance to kill the Blood Moon Infanta, he wouldn't hesitate at all. Unfortunately, the Blood Moon Infanta was too powerful. She wasn't any weaker than Yun Yao, and she had already reached the origin core realm. Even though Hao Meng was at the 8th level of the Tongxian realm, Ji Tianqing and Hao Meng couldn't do anything to the Blood Moon Infanta in a short period of time. Her hands emitted a blood-red glow, which condensed into 2 blood hands that were as big as washbasins. They contained an extremely violent power and continuously slapped at Ji Tianqing and Hao Meng. Hao Meng's fiery red greatsword and Ji Tianqing's golden sword radiance were always shaken off by the Blood Moon Infanta's hands. They swayed left and right and lost their power. There were a few times when Hao Meng's greatsword and Ji Tianqing's sword radiance slashed her body. However, her entire body was covered by a layer of dense blood-red light, which resembled a blood-red armor. Ji Tianqing and Hao Meng's attacks couldn't even break through the layer of blood-red armor, so how could they injure her? A full 100 breaths of time had passed. The two of them had continuously attacked over 100 times, but they still couldn't do anything to the Blood Moon Infanta, let alone injure her. After the Blood Moon Infanta steadied herself, she couldn't help but let out a gloomy sneer. Ha ha ha. Ji Tianqing and you, big guy. Just based on the two of you, you dared to ambush this princess. Who gave you the guts? If that's all you have, then die obediently. After sneering, the Blood Moon Infanta unleashed her full power and used a powerful killing move. Blood Shadow Transformation. She shouted in a low voice. The blood-red glow that enveloped her body immediately surged and changed continuously. Swoosh! Her figure flashed and turned into a streak of blood-red light. She instantly dodged Hao Meng's greatsword. In the next moment, she appeared behind Ji Tianqing like a ghost. She stretched out her blood-red hand and slapped at Ji Tianqing's back. Ji Tianqing sensed that something was wrong and immediately used the shadowless step to dodge the blood-red hand's attack. However, he was still a little too slow and was hit by the blood-red hand. Bang! With a muffled sound, the edge of the blood-red hand swept at his back. His figure swayed a few times. After dashing 10 meters away, he stopped. Fortunately, he was fast enough and dodged in time. He wasn't injured by the Blood Moon Infanta. However, after being hit by the Blood Moon Infanta's palm, he discovered that the sword vein in his body had changed. Previously, he had been cultivating in seclusion in Tianqing's courtyard to refine the second aperture point of the second sword vein. However, the time was too short and he couldn't complete the refinement. However, at that moment, in order to dodge the blood-red hand's attack, he unleashed all of his potential. The true core strength in his body flowed at an extreme speed. It contained an extremely powerful impact force and fiercely broke open the aperture point. In a short moment, the aperture point was refined by the true core strength and shone with golden light. He actually unleashed all of his potential at the critical moment of life and death and successfully refined an aperture point. His strength had imperceptibly increased by a little. This result surprised him and made him happy. The cultivation of the sword heart is indeed different from ordinary cultivation techniques. It can actually increase one's strength by unleashing all of one's potential at the critical moment of life and death. It's simply amazing. Chapter 259. Ji Tianqing had noticed a problem a long time ago. Ever since he entered the metaphysical realm and practiced the fourth level of the sword heart Tao, the progress of his strength had been very slow. He had thought that this was normal. An ordinary metaphysical realm martial artist would need at least a few months or even a year to increase his strength by one level. However, after careful consideration, he realized that this was not the main reason. The sword heart Tao was different from ordinary martial arts. It could not be measured by common martial arts. He vaguely felt that his cultivation method was wrong, which was why the progress of his strength was so slow. Previously, he had guessed that the speed of refining acupoints was too slow when he cultivated in seclusion in the secret chamber. If he used his true origin in an actual battle to stimulate his acupoints, he might be able to complete the refinement faster. However, this was only his guess, and he had never had the chance to verify it. Now, when he was fighting with the Blood Moon Commandery Lady, he had unleashed his potential and successfully refined an acupoint. This proved that his previous guess was correct. The fourth level of the sword heart Tao could only be cultivated in an actual battle and at a moment of life and death. After confirming this point, Ji Tianqing was gratified and pleasantly surprised. He looked at the Blood Moon Commandery Lady, who was not far away, and his eyes were shining with anticipation. When I cultivated in seclusion in the sect, the environment was too stable. There was no one to fight with me, so there was no chance for me to increase my strength. Now, the Blood Moon Infanta not only wants to kill me, but also has enough strength to threaten my life. To me, this is the best opportunity to hone myself. Thinking of this, he did not hesitate and immediately activated 3 streaks of sword chi to attack the Blood Moon Commandery Lady with the Flying Star Sword Art. Thousand Feather Blade. The 3 streaks of golden sword chi shot toward the Blood Moon Commandery Lady as fast as lightning. They split into 9 streaks of sword chi and attacked her vital parts from different angles and positions. Immediately, the 9 streaks of sword chi shrouded the Blood Moon Commandery Lady with golden sword shadows. The Blood Moon Commandery Lady was fighting with Hao Meng head-on. She waved her bloody hands and slapped at Hao Meng's huge flaming sword. Both of them were 2-meter-tall giants, and their attacking methods were extremely powerful. When they fought, they were like 2 ferocious beasts colliding with each other. The noises they made were simply earth-shattering. Boom boom boom. Amidst the loud noise, the 2 of them collided 3 times in a row, and violent and raging energy exploded out, causing the ground to tremble without end. The 2 of them finally separated from each other. Hao Meng took 8 steps back, and only stopped when he hit against a broken tree. It was obvious that he had suffered serious injuries. His face was ashen, blood was flowing from his nose and mouth, and the veins on his forehead were throbbing violently. The Blood Moon Commandery Princess had gained the upper hand and was about to pursue and kill Hao Meng on the spot. However, right at this moment, a sky full of golden sword shadows descended upon her, attacking her vital points in a frenzy. Swish! Swish! Even though the Blood Moon Infanta was very powerful, very fast, and very strong in defense, she was still able to defeat the Blood Moon Infanta. However, she still hadn't reached the level of invulnerability and invincibility. Her eyes, throat, heart, and forehead were still her vital points. If she was pierced by the sword ray, she could still lose her life. Therefore, she could only use the blood-red protective demonic technique to protect her vitals and brandish her blood-red hands to strike the sword shadows that filled the sky. Peng peng peng. Amidst a series of muffled sounds, many of the golden sword shadows were smashed into pieces. However, the speed of the 9 sword rays was too fast. It was impossible for her to block all of them, and it was also impossible for her to dodge them. In a short span of 5 breaths, the 9 sword rays had stabbed her thousands of times. The Blood Moon Commandery Princess had blocked most of the attacks, but she was still stabbed more than 200 times by the sword rays. Even though she was protected by the blood-red protective light, she still couldn't withstand such a powerful attack. She was pushed back 3 steps, and her black robe was also cut into a pile of rags. Several invisible parts of her body had already been injured, and dark purple blood was flowing out of them. Ji Tianqing. You damned little reptile. I will tear you into pieces. The Blood Moon Commandery Princess flew into a rage. She immediately used the blood shadow transformation and turned into a blood-red light, dashing toward Ji Tianqing as fast as lightning. Ji Tianqing stared at the blood-red light without changing his expression, and immediately used his second supreme skill. Wind Thunder Strike. He instantly activated 2 golden sword rays and attacked the Blood Moon Commandery Princess from the left and right. The sword rays mixed with the fierce wind and turned into a golden thunderbolt, striking the blood-red light that the Blood Moon Commandery Princess had turned into. Bang! Amidst a loud muffled sound, the Blood Moon Commandery Princess had just arrived in front of Ji Tianqing when she was hit by the wind thunder strike. The blood-red light collapsed on the spot, and the Blood Moon Commandery Princess figure appeared. She staggered back. Her hair was disheveled, and she cut a sorry figure. Her black robe had also turned into rags, scattering on the grassland ruins. It was only at this moment that Ji Tianqing saw her true appearance clearly. She was wearing a black and ice-cold tight leather armor. Her waist was slender, and her legs were straight and long. Compared to the women of the human race, her body shape and figure were extremely hot. Especially the black leather armor that she was wearing, which clung to her body and clearly outlined her exaggerated curves. However, her exposed skin was light purple, which looked very strange. Especially her face. Although her facial features were regular, her face was light purple, and her eyes were scarlet like blood. There was no beauty in her at all. Ji Tianqing. You're dead. No one can save you. The Blood Moon Commandery Princess always wore a black robe, and she would never reveal her true appearance in front of outsiders. Ji Tianqing had destroyed her black robe and forced her to reveal her true appearance, which had completely infuriated her. She roared furiously and turned into a blood-red light again, rushing toward Ji Tianqing. This time, her speed had reached its limit. It was unbelievably fast. Swoosh! With a flash of blood-red light, she rushed in front of Ji Tianqing. She suddenly revealed her true appearance, and her palms turned into blood-red hands. She slapped toward Ji Tianqing's head. Seeing this, Hao Meng, who was rushing over to save Ji Tianqing, immediately changed his expression and cried out in alarm. Junior Marshal Brother Ji, be careful. He was already too late to save Ji Tianqing. He could only pray for him in his heart, hoping that he could escape this disaster. At this critical moment, Ji Tianqing had no time to counterattack. He was already prepared. He burst out with all his potential and desperately used the shadowless step to retreat. However, his speed was so fast that he left after images, but he was still hit on the shoulder by a blood-red hand. Bang! With a muffled sound, Ji Tianqing's body swayed, and he almost fell to the ground. He rushed 10 meters away before he could steady himself. When he turned around, blood was flowing from the corner of his mouth, and his face was even paler. His entire right arm was hanging by his side. It was obviously dislocated by the blood-red hand. However, even though he was injured, he was not angry at all. Instead, a trace of a smile flashed in his eyes. This was because at that moment of life and death, he had opened the third aperture in the sword vein. Chapter 260. The Blood Moon Commandery Princess lowered her head and looked at her right palm. Her eyes were filled with confusion. She couldn't believe that Ji Tianqing had been hit by her bloodthirsty demonic palm. Why was he only lightly injured? She was so angry that she couldn't care less. She rushed toward Ji Tianqing again and launched a fierce attack. Little bastard, give me your life. The Blood Moon Commandery Princess's bloody hands fell from the sky and slapped toward Ji Tianqing's head. But at this moment, a furious roar came from the side. A 3-meter-long flaming sword radiance was slashed toward her. Demoness! Your opponent is me. Apparently, Hao Meng had arrived in time. He slashed his sword with all his strength and intercepted the Blood Moon Commandery Princess. If the Blood Moon Commandery Princess didn't stop, she would be hit by Hao Meng's sword. She had no choice but to stop and give up chasing Ji Tianqing. Instead, she turned to face Hao Meng. Bang! Bang! She waved her bloody hands and slapped the huge flaming sword from the side. The huge sword was shaken off and slashed on the ground. Boom! A 3-meter-long and half-meter-wide gully was cut out of the grassland by the huge sword. Countless scorching hot scorched earth splashed out. Hao Meng roared. He held the huge sword with both hands and slashed toward the Blood Moon Commandery Princess again. The Blood Moon Commandery Princess was entangled by him. She had no choice but to use all her strength to resist his attack. The two of them began to fight back and forth, causing loud banging noises and shaking the ground. The 20-meter radius area was in a mess again. Debris of earth and wood flew everywhere. Ji Tianqing took advantage of this opportunity to use the Flying Star Sword technique again and attacked the Blood Moon Commandery Princess from a distance. Red Dragon Flash. He used all his power and condensed a 2-meter-long golden sword radiance in his palm. The sword radiance emitted a fierce golden flame and turned into the shape of a divine dragon. It dashed toward the Blood Moon Commandery Princess as fast as the aurora. The Blood Moon Commandery Princess was fighting fiercely with Hao Meng. She suddenly sensed the red dragon flash coming toward her. Her expression changed drastically and she hurriedly retreated. But she was still one step too late and couldn't dodge the red dragon flash. With a muffled bang, Scarlet Dragon Flash hit her back and sent her flying 7 to 8 meters away. The Blood Moon Infanta rolled and fell on the grass, leaving behind a purple bloodstain. When she crawled up from the ground, her long hair was already disheveled, her face was savage like a fiend, and her entire body was emanating blood-red killing intent. The leather armor on her back had burst open, revealing a large patch of purple skin and a huge wound that was so deep that her bones could be seen. Dark purple blood gushed out of the wound and dripped down the leather armor to the ground. The grass on the ground was stained with dark purple blood and immediately withered and turned black. The Blood Moon Infanta glared at Ji Tianqing. She was so angry that her whole body was trembling and her face was distorted. Gee! Heavens! All right. How dare you injure me? I will skin you alive, pull out your tendons, and grind your bones to dust. She roared angrily, word by word. She was so angry that she almost lost her mind. Before this, she had never taken Ji Tianqing seriously. She only regarded him as an insignificant and weak worm, an ant that she could crush with a finger. However, this ant had severely injured her and caused her to be in such a miserable state. This was simply a great humiliation and mockery. She only felt that her pride as the Infanta of the Devil Clan and the nobility of the Devil Clan's bloodline had been trampled on. If she didn't tear Ji Tianqing into pieces, how could she wash away the humiliation and dispel the hatred in her heart? Hao Meng was also stunned when he saw the Blood Moon Infanta's injuries. He looked at the Blood Moon Infanta's back and glanced at Ji Tianqing with a strange expression. His heart was filled with astonishment and shock. This brat is only at the second level of the Tongxian stage. How could he injure the witch to this extent? Oh my God! Even I can't defeat the witch, let alone injure her. How did he do it? Hao Meng had always thought that he had a good understanding of Ji Tianqing. But now, he found Ji Tianqing to be a stranger. He couldn't understand him at all. He suddenly understood why Ji Tianqing dared to challenge Bai Wuqian. So this was the reason. No matter how strong Bai Wuqian was, he was still much weaker than the witch. Since Ji Tianqing could injure the witch to this extent, he naturally had the ability to defeat Bai Wuqian. Thinking of this, Hao Meng took a deep look at Ji Tianqing and began to pray for Bai Wuqian. Senior brother Bai, oh senior brother Bai, I only hope that you won't lose too badly when the time comes. It's nothing to be a servant for a year. It'll be fortunate if you don't get injured in the battle. At the same time, the Blood Moon Infanta charged at Ji Tianqing again and launched a frenzied attack. Ji Tianqing was instantly in danger. He could be severely injured by the blood hand at any time. He had no choice but to run for his life and execute the shadowless steps to escape the Blood Moon Infanta's ferocious attacks. Hao Meng came back to his senses and hastily rushed over to help Ji Tianqing while attacking the Blood Moon Infanta with all his might. The three of them once again engaged in a fierce battle in the forest. The battle was earth-shattering and rumbling. During this period of time, Ji Tianqing was under the Blood Moon Infanta's relentless attacks. He could only dodge and block with all his might. He was constantly in a life-and-death situation. He could only unleash his potential and unleash his strength to the limit. Unknowingly, the few apertures in his second sword vein had been opened by the surging true origin. Soon, the refinement was completed. The three of them chased and fought in the forest for 15 minutes. Ji Tianqing had actually refined 5 apertures in such a short period of time. When the Blood Moon Infanta's strength gradually weakened and her attacks became slower, the pressure on him was greatly reduced. He finally heaved a sigh of relief. At this moment, he suddenly realized that the 8 apertures in his second sword vein had all been refined. He had actually broken through the second level of the Mystic Comprehending stage and advanced to the third level of the Mystic Comprehending stage in the midst of a battle of life and death. Although Ji Tianqing's body was injured in several places, he was pleasantly surprised and did not feel any pain. At this moment, a deep and vigorous roar suddenly came from the forest not far away. Infanta! Quickly return to the Devil's Cave. This is a scheme to lure the enemy away from the mountain. They are slaughtering our warriors. This was the voice of the high priest. He spoke in the demon clan's language and his tone was filled with grief, indignation, and fury. The Blood Moon Infanta's expression changed drastically and her eyes flashed with intense hatred. She glared at Ji Tianqing and Hao Meng with resentment and immediately turned around and dashed toward the Devil's Cave. When Ji Tianqing and Hao Meng saw the Blood Moon Infanta fleeing, their expressions changed and they quickly chased after her. Quickly chase after her. We must delay her. We must not let her escape. We must buy some time for the others. Ji Tianqing and Hao Meng ran wildly in the forest and chased after the Blood Moon Infanta at their fastest speed. However, the Blood Moon Infanta turned into a streak of blood light and flashed continuously in the forest. Her speed was unbelievably fast. After a short period of time, when Ji Tianqing and Hao Meng rushed out of the forest and arrived at the entrance of the Devil's Cave, they saw the Blood Moon Infanta and the High Priest rushing into the Devil's Cave. Immediately after, Yun Yao, Feng Min, and Wu Yu also rushed to the entrance at lightning speed. Obviously, they were also chasing after the High Priest. Chapter 261. Ji Tianqing, Yun Yao, Feng Min, and the others gathered at the grassland outside the entrance of the demon's cave. Everyone looked at each other and heaved a sigh of relief when they saw that they were only slightly injured. I wonder if the 4 teams of disciples have completed their mission. This is a great opportunity. Let's join forces to chase after the high priest and the demoness. Perhaps we can kill them today. Let's go in and take a look. We can't let them escape. Hao Meng, Feng Min, and Wu Yu discussed for a while. They were all eager to rush into the demon's cave to chase after the high priest and the demoness. Right at this moment, in the sky above the forest that was 1,000 meters away from them, 2 signal arrows suddenly whistled. Everyone turned their heads to look at the sky. When they saw the 2 signal arrows rising into the sky, they all revealed gratified smiles. That's great. They have completed their mission and evacuated from the demon's cave through the other exits. The 4 teams have evacuated from the demon's cave and returned to the rendezvous point. Feng Min, Wu Yu, and the others' spirits shook as they revealed joyful expressions. Yun Yao frowned and thought for a while. She ordered in a deep voice, "Let's not chase after the high priest and the demoness. Let's meet up with the disciples of the various sects and understand the situation in the demon's cave." No one had any objections. They followed her through the forest and rushed to the rendezvous point. After a while, Ji Tianxing and the others arrived at an open space at the foot of the mountain. The disciples of the 4 sects were waiting in the open space. When they saw Yun Yao and the others, 2 of them quickly came forward and reported the situation. "Senior Sister Yun Yao, we have completed our mission and successfully evacuated. Fortunately, we did not disappoint. We have killed all the demon clan guards in the demon's cave. Even if there were a few that escaped, they were either severely injured or severely injured." After hearing the news from the 2 disciples, Ji Tianxing, Hao Meng, and the others were excited and smiled. However, the 2 disciples continued to report, "Senior Sister Yun Yao, we fought a bloody battle and killed hundreds of demon clan guards. However, we also suffered heavy casualties. Almost everyone suffered heavy injuries. There are also 6 junior brothers and sisters who sacrificed themselves in this battle. We brought their bodies out as well." The expressions of Ji Tianxing, Yun Yao, and the others changed slightly as they hurriedly looked towards the disciples of the 4 sections. The 30 or so surviving disciples were all covered in blood and had disheveled hair. Many people's white robes were in tatters, dyed dark red by blood. Every disciple suffered heavy injuries. A few disciples had their arms or legs chopped off. Their injuries were very miserable, and they constantly groaned in pain. On the grass behind the disciples, there were 6 cold corpses lying side by side. They were the disciples who had sacrificed themselves in this operation. Among the 6 dead disciples, 1 was from the Sky Pillar sect, 1 was from the Heart Moon sect, and 2 were from the 6 Unity sect and the Pill Cauldron sect. Seeing this scene, Yun Yao, Ji Tianxing, and the others' hearts became heavy, and the joy in their hearts was diluted. However, the disciples of the 4 sects had annihilated hundreds of demon clan guards in the demon cave at the cost of such heavy casualties. This was definitely an exhilarating victory. It was a real victory. Seeing that everyone was severely injured and urgently needed to find a place to heal, Yun Yao said with a solemn expression, "Junior brothers and sisters, thank you for your help. Everyone is seriously injured, and we can't waste time here. Everyone, hurry back to the foothold on the opposite mountain and treat your injuries as soon as possible. Leave the rest to the 5 of us." The 2 leading disciples cupped their fists and bowed to Yun Yao. Then, following her orders, they quickly left with the 30 or so disciples. Everyone helped each other and carried the 6 corpses of the disciples across the canyon between the 2 mountains. They returned to the opposite mountain. After the disciples left, Yun Yao, Ji Tianxing, and the others hurriedly rushed into the entrance of the demon cave and continued to chase after the high priest and the blood moon infanta. After a few minutes, everyone passed through the pitch-black twisting passageway and entered the demon cave. As soon as they entered the demon cave, they saw a spacious and gloomy cave. Everyone held their swords and cautiously passed through the cave. They looked around with keen eyes and searched for traces of the high priest and the blood moon infanta. The cave was filled with a thick smell of blood. There were many corpses of demon clan guards lying on the ground. Ji Tianqing counted silently. There were more than 80 corpses of demon clan guards in the cave. However, after looking around the cave, they still couldn't find the high priest and the blood moon infanta. Yunyao frowned and looked at the stone doors around the cave. She said in a deep voice, "There are several stone doors. There are many passageways and secret rooms behind them. We will split into 2 groups and search. Once we find traces of the high priest and the witch, we will immediately send a signal to inform them." Everyone nodded in agreement and split into 2 groups to search. Yunyao and Feng Min moved together. Ji Tianqing, Hao Meng, and Wu Yu moved together. Everyone opened the stone doors around the cave and entered the passageways and secret rooms behind them. They searched carefully. After 45 minutes, Ji Tianqing, Yunyao, and the others carefully searched the passageways and rooms behind the stone doors. Everyone returned to the cave and gathered. They exchanged information with each other. Hao Meng said to everyone, "Junior Marshal Brother Ji and I have already checked the 2 stone doors on the left. We didn't find the high priest and the witch. We killed a few of them." Feng Min followed up and said, "We also checked the right door. We didn't find the high priest and the witch." Yunyao frowned slightly. She looked at the largest stone door in front of them and said, "Only that stone door hasn't been checked. If I remember correctly, only the high priest and the witch can enter and exit that door. That should be a secret area of the demon cave." After saying this, she led Ji Tianqing and the others to the largest stone door. The stone door was tightly shut. It flickered with a dark red light. There were array patterns and symbols carved on the door frame. It was obvious that there was an array formation protecting it. Yunyao, Feng Min, and Wu Yu worked together. It only took them 100 breaths to break the array formation on the stone door. After opening the stone door, everyone held their swords tightly and carefully stepped over the stone door. They carefully searched every room and secret room. Soon, 15 minutes passed. Everyone searched 6 rooms and secret rooms in a row. They didn't find the high priest and the witch. Yunyao led everyone into the last secret room. This secret room was relatively large. It looked like an important place for sacrificial ceremonies. There was a sacrificial altar in the room. There was also a huge blood pool. A demon god statue stood in the middle of the blood pool. It looked extremely ferocious and terrifying under the bloody light. There were stone tables, stools, and cabinets in the secret room. There were also secret compartments for storage in the walls. However, the high priest and the witch were not in this secret room. These things might be useful to the demon race, but not to the human race. Those dozens of secret manuals and ancient books were all written in the demon clan's language, so the 3 of them couldn't understand them. But even so, Yunyao would not let go of any clues that might appear. She said in a deep voice, "Let's check these things. Maybe we will find something." Hao Meng nodded. He flipped through the ancient books with her, trying his best to identify the contents of the books. Ji Tianqing casually flipped through a few ancient books. When he saw the densely packed Xian words, he felt dizzy and lost interest in continuing to flip through them. He continued to search the secret room. He walked around the corner and gently tapped on the wall, looking for a secret compartment hidden in the wall. Not long after, he found a secret compartment. He managed to open the secret compartment and found a black book inside. Originally, he did not care about this book. He thought that the book was written in Xian words that he could not understand. But when he casually flipped through 2 pages, he was surprised to find that the words in this book were written in human words. Ji Tianqing was stunned for a moment. He was full of doubts as he thought to himself, this secret room is the most confidential place in the Xian cave. How could a human's ancient book appear here? And it was hidden so well by the high priest. He hurriedly flipped through the book and quickly glanced at the contents of the book. Suddenly, he saw the two words Kenshin in the book. His pupils shrank as he carefully flipped through the book. He saw that the book wrote, Kenshin's name spread throughout the continent, causing the three imperial courts to be wary of him. Every race retreated when they heard his name. In the year of Gengqin, in the month of Gengqin, Kenshin stepped into the Tianqin region. In a secret realm in this region, he defeated an emperor realm expert with a single sword strike. His name spread far and wide, causing the people of this region to bow down and worship him. Kenshin stayed in the Tianqin region for 10 days. His whereabouts were unknown, and the reason was unknown. A few years later, news spread from the Tianqin region. A person with great fortune received guidance from Kenshin and achieved great success. Kenshin left behind a heavenly star bead in the ancient realm. It is a shocking treasure that can reach the immortal realm. However, the heavenly star bead has never appeared in the world. It is hard to tell if this news is true or false. Perhaps it is just a rumor. Ji Tianqing carefully flipped through the book and read all the contents related to Kenshin. This book was thin to begin with, and the last few pages had been torn off by someone. He had just seen the news about the heavenly star bead, but there was no more content. He was instantly filled with anxiety and doubt. However, in the last few pages of the book, there was a yellowed page with a painting of a mountain shrouded in fog. Ji Tianqing took a closer look and could only see that the painting was of a mountain and a forest shrouded in thick fog. Other than that, there were no words or markings in the painting, and he could not see any clues. He closed the book and thought to himself, for nearly 100 years, the demon race has also been searching for the heavenly star bead. The contents recorded in this book are related to Kenshin and the heavenly star bead. It seems to contain clues about the heavenly star bead. No wonder there are books of the human race here, and they were even carefully preserved by the high priest. Thinking of this, he secretly glanced at Yun Yao and Hao Meng. Seeing that the two of them were focused on flipping through the ancient book, he quietly put the black book into his spatial ring. Then, he walked to the stone table as if nothing had happened and helped the two of them count the items and look for clues. 2 hours passed quickly. The three of them checked everything, but they didn't find any valuable clues. The only clue that might be useful was the dozens of ancient books. Unfortunately, the three of them could not understand the demon race's language in the ancient books, so they could only bring them back to the Sky Pillar sect and let the sect deal with them. Yun Yao opened her interspatial ring and put all the things on the stone table into her interspatial ring. Junior brother Ji, junior brother Hao, I want to bring these things back to the sect and report to Master. We have already searched the demon cave. Now it is time to destroy this evil demon cave. Hao Meng nodded and grinned. Don't worry, senior sister. I have already prepared. I have completed many sect missions in the past few years. The sect master and the elders have rewarded me with a few explosive talismans. I have been keeping them and could not bear to use them. Today, they can finally be put to use. Chapter 263. After saying that, Hao Meng took out 7 crimson talismans from his interspatial ring. Each talisman was 1 foot long and as wide as a palm. They were crimson red and emitted extremely violent primordial chi waves. Ji Tianqing could clearly sense that these talismans were of a very high grade, and the power they contained was extremely terrifying. If the 7 explosive talismans were to explode at the same time, they could even destroy half a mountain. Yun Yao looked at the explosive talismans in Hao Meng's hand and nodded. Junior brother Hao's idea is not bad. Hao Meng smiled and continued, these explosive talismans are black-grade high-grade talismans. Only a talisman master can refine them. As long as one of these talismans is detonated, it can kill anyone below the primordial core realm. It can also destroy the mountain rocks within a radius of dozens of meters. Although this demon cave is deep underground and the walls are all hard rocks, there are many tunnels and tunnels in the cave. However, the demonic cavern is connected in all directions. Countless caverns and tunnels have been excavated. The foundation is not stable. As long as we use these explosive talismans appropriately, we can definitely destroy the demon cave completely. There were many secret rooms and tunnels in the demon cave, and the terrain seemed complicated. In fact, the core of the entire demon cave was the empty cave with a radius of 1,000 meters. There were 6 stone doors around the cave, extending into many tunnels and creating many secret rooms. As long as the core cave was destroyed, the entire demon cave would collapse and be completely destroyed. After making up their minds, Ji Tianqing, Yun Yao, and Hao Meng left the secret room and returned to the empty cave. Hao Meng walked around the cave and carefully observed for a while before he found a suitable place to place the explosive talismans. It took him half an hour to place the 7 explosive talismans around the cave. After everything was ready, he quickly walked back to Ji Tianqing and Yun Yao and said with a serious expression, "Eldest senior sister, junior brother Ji, let's leave quickly. I've already adjusted the formation in the explosive talismans. After 15 minutes, the 7 explosive talismans will all explode." When Yun Yao and Ji Tianqing heard him, they immediately entered the dark tunnel and ran out of the demon cave. The 3 of them passed through the pitch-black tunnel at an extremely fast speed. In less than a quarter of an hour, they had left the demonic cave. The 3 of them returned to the forest outside the cave and silently observed the entrance of the devil's cave. After about 100 breaths of time, the explosive talisman exploded. Boom! A loud and muffled sound suddenly came from underground. The earth was shaking violently, and the entire mountain was trembling as if there was a super earthquake. The ground shook violently for more than 10 times, cracking open one huge gully after another. Many trees were shaking and swaying, and countless trees were broken, letting out cracking noises. For a moment, the entire mountain was shaking as if it was about to collapse. Dust, mud, and wood fragments were stirred up from the mountain, drifting down from the sky. Ji Tianqing and Yun Yao were already prepared. Even though the ground was shaking violently, they did not fall to the ground. After a long time, the earth quaking and mountains shaking slowly slowed down and gradually calmed down. At this moment, the entire mountain peak was distorted and deformed. The peak of the mountain had caved in a few hundred meters deep, and it was shorter than before. After the demonic cave was destroyed, the interior of the mountain peak was hollow, causing the mountain peak to sink and fill up the hollow area. Even though the 3 of them could not see the situation inside the mountain peak, they could guess that the entire demonic cave must have been destroyed. Phew! We have finally completed our mission. Hao Meng let out a long breath, and a gratified smile appeared on his face. We have completely destroyed the demonic cave and killed so many demon guards. The demons will definitely not come out to stir up trouble in the near future. Ji Tianqing also nodded and said with a smile, "Yes. The Star Ancient Realm will be peaceful for a while. I only hope that the High Priestess and the Witch will escape from the Star Ancient Realm after this and never come back." Yun Yao looked calm and did not say anything. However, everyone knew that with the High Priestess and the Witch's temperament, they would definitely not leave the Star Ancient Realm easily. Perhaps, it wouldn't be long before they made a comeback. After a long time, the dust, wood, and grass that filled the sky finally dissipated, and the night sky became clear again. Yun Yao said in a low voice, "Junior brother Hao, junior brother Ji, we should go back and report." Hao Meng nodded and was about to leave with her. However, Ji Tianqing hesitated for a moment and did not follow. Yun Yao turned to look at him and asked curiously, "Junior brother Ji, why are you not going?" Ji Tianqing smiled apologetically and explained, "Senior sister, I still have a very important matter to attend to, so I won't be returning to the sect with you." Yun Yao frowned slightly, but did not ask any further. Hao Meng raised his eyebrows and asked curiously, "Junior brother Ji, where are you going? How long will it take for you to return?" Ji Tianqing thought for a moment and said solemnly, "That matter is very important and troublesome. It might take 10 days to half a month, or even a month. But don't worry, no matter what, I will return to the sect before the heaven ranking tournament next month. Since he did not want to reveal the details, Yun Yao and Hao Meng did not pursue the matter. In that case, be careful on your way back. Junior brother Ji, be careful. The two of them warned Ji Tianxing, then waved goodbye to him, turned around, and left. Ji Tianxing watched Yun Yao and Hao Meng's departing figures for a long time before he turned and walked in another direction. After leaving the mountain where the Devil Cave was located, he released Qianyu from the 100 treasures brocade pouch. Swoosh! Qianyu turned into a ray of icy blue light and appeared in front of him, its body rapidly expanding. In the blink of an eye, its body grew to more than 3 meters, and it became a handsome and majestic ice fox. Especially its 12 furry tails, it looked both mysterious and beautiful. Old Ji, where are you going instead of returning to the sect with senior sister? Ji Tianxing reached out and touched its head, his lips curling into a meaningful smile. I just found a clue about the heavenly star bead in the secret chamber of the Devil Cave. I have to investigate it as soon as possible. Currently, he was cultivating the 4th level of the Path of the Sword. The sword spirit in the burial of heaven had said that with his mortal body, he could only reach the 4th level and could not cultivate the 5th level of the Path of the Heart. This meant that he could only stay in the mystic enlightening realm and was destined to never reach the origin core realm. To solve this problem, he could only try his best to find the heavenly star bead and merge it with the Kenshin blood. Although Qianyu did not know what the heavenly star bead was, it knew that it was extremely important to him. It nodded and asked, "Where are you going to start your investigation?" Chapter 264. A long time ago, Xian had told Ji Tianxing about the situation in the ancient realm of stars. She had mentioned Flame Spirit City and introduced it to him in detail. Flame Spirit City was the only city in the ancient realm of stars. This ancient city, which had existed for almost 1,000 years, was located in the central region of the ancient realm. It was only 500 miles away from the stellar peak. Flame Spirit City was not big. It only covered an area of 100 miles, and only a few 100,000 people lived in it. However, these people were all martial artists. Many of them were martial arts experts, and there were even a few experts living in seclusion. Almost half of the people living in the city were the descendants of the natives of the ancient realm. Their ancestors had lived in the ancient realm for generations. Most of them were inextricably linked to the 8 great sections. Many of them were the descendants of the disciples of the 8 great sections. They lived and prospered in Flame Spirit City. That was how the city had developed to its current scale. Although Flame Spirit City was small, it was very prosperous. Hundreds of thousands of martial artists gathered in this city. Naturally, it was also a gathering place for information about the ancient realm of stars. The disciples of the 8 great sects would often go to Flame Spirit City when they went out to train. They would ask for information in the city or buy some cultivation resources. Ji Tianxing guessed that the mountain peak painting was a clue about the heavenly star pearl. However, he could not see the secret hidden in the painting. He could only go to Flame Spirit City and find a way to investigate this matter. Qianyu had never heard of Flame Spirit City. It immediately asked Ji Tianxing curiously. "Let's talk as we go." Ji Tianxing smiled and jumped onto its back. Qianyu quickly flapped its wings and flew into the sky, heading north at a moderate speed. During the journey, Ji Tianxing introduced the situation in Flame Spirit City to it. After hearing this, Qianyu was naturally excited and eager. It just wanted to enter the city as soon as possible. In a mountain range 500 miles away from the Demon Cave, on the peak of a towering mountain. Under the pitch-black night sky, 2 tall figures stood on a huge rock at the peak of the mountain, looking in the direction of the Demon Cave. One of them was a 2-meter-tall black-robed elder with bare feet. He was the high priest. The woman beside him, who was wearing black leather armor and was covered in blood, was the Blood Moon Infanta. Their expressions were extremely gloomy and cold. Their eyes contained monstrous anger and killing intent. Damned Sky Pillar Sect. He actually slaughtered so many of our warriors and even destroyed the devil cave that we had lived in for so many years. The Blood Moon Infanta growled angrily. Her voice was hoarse and trembling, and it was filled with killing intent. The high priest's voice was cold as he said in a low voice, "It's not just the Sky Pillar Sect. There's also the Heart Moon Sect, the Six Unity Sect, and the Pill Cauldron Sect. Sooner or later, I will make them pay with their blood, and pay them back tenfold." The Blood Moon Infanta secretly clenched her fists and asked in a low voice, "High Priestess, we left in a hurry. There are still many important things in the Devil's Cave that we didn't have time to take away." Before she could finish, the High Priest shook his head and said, "Don't worry about it. The demonic cave has been destroyed. We won't be able to find it even if we go back." The Blood Moon Infanta was unwilling to give up. She frowned and asked, "The Devil's Cave has been destroyed, and only the two of us have escaped. We have nowhere to hide. Don't tell me that we have to leave the ancient realm and return to the tribe." The high priest shook his head again and said in an indifferent tone, "We have suffered such huge losses and fallen into such a sorry state. If we return to the tribe, how will we explain it to Lord Demon King? Then what should we do? Where can we go?" The Blood Moon Infanta looked at him and asked in a low voice. The high priest pondered for a moment and had an idea. He said in a low voice, "I know an excellent place for us to hide. We won't be discovered by the Sky Pillar Sect." Unknowingly, 6 hours had passed. It was early in the morning, and a wisp of white appeared on the horizon. Qian Yu arrived at Spirit Flame City and landed on a vast plain. This plain was at least 100 miles in radius. Looking around, one could only see boundless grass and forests. Qian Yu looked around and asked Ji Tianqing in confusion, "Old Ji, didn't you say that we have arrived? Where is Spirit Flame City?" Ji Tianqing pointed at the grassland under his feet and said with a smile, "This is Spirit Flame City. However, the city is protected by a great formation, so ordinary people can't see it." Qian Yu suddenly understood and said with a smile, "No wonder I felt that the plain was strange. There was a faint aura of a formation." Ji Tianqing walked into the depths of the plain and looked around with keen eyes. When he walked 100 steps away, he saw a black stone tablet that was half the height of a man hidden in a cluster of tall grass. The words, "Spirit Flame City," were written in silver on the tablet. There were also formation patterns and symbols carved on it. He stared at the tablet and observed it for a while before revealing a smile. "Qian Yu, if you want to go to the city with me, you'd better shrink a little." "Okay." Qian Yu nodded in response and quickly shrank. In the blink of an eye, it returned to the size of a kitten and jumped onto Ji Tianqing's shoulder to squat. Ji Tianqing then took out the Atlas badge and placed it on the black tablet, silently injecting his true core into it. The black tablet lit up with a silver light and emitted a strong aura of a formation. The great formation of Spirit Flame City was activated, and the scene before Ji Tianqing changed. There was nothing in front of him at first, as if it was blocked by an invisible barrier. Swoosh! After the great formation was activated, the invisible barrier immediately dissipated, revealing the real scene before his eyes. The vast grassland and forest were all illusions created by the great formation. After the illusion disappeared, an ancient black city appeared before Ji Tianqing out of thin air. This was an ancient square city. The city walls were made of huge black stones and were about 10 meters tall. They emitted a majestic and heavy aura. The huge black stones were extremely hard and had been etched by thousands of years of wind and frost. However, there were still mottled and rough marks left behind. The wide and tall city gates were tightly shut, and the words, "Spirit Flame City," were carved on the lintel. The words were already blurred. Ji Tianqing still stood beside the stone tablet, but a wide black stone path appeared beneath his feet. It led straight ahead and connected to the tall city gates. Qian Yu was still looking up curiously at Spirit Flame City, but Ji Tianqing had already walked toward the city gates. The city gates were empty, and there was not a single person in sight. When Ji Tianqing arrived at the city gates, two middle-aged martial artists in armor walked out from the tower on the city walls. These two men were the guards of the city gates, and they were both at the second level of the mystic enlightening realm. The two of them stood on the city walls and looked down at Ji Tianqing. They asked in a dignified voice, "Those who are not of the ancient star realm are not allowed to enter Spirit Flame City. Show me your identity token." Ji Tianqing knew the rules of Spirit Flame City. Only the disciples of the 8 great sects and the residents of the city were allowed to enter. The disciples of the 8 great sects all had identity tokens. The residents of Spirit Flame City naturally had identity tokens as well. Chapter 265. Ji Tianqing took out the Atlas badge and showed it to the two guards. The two of them asked him a few questions before opening the city gates. The 5-meter-tall black city gate slowly opened with a muffled creak 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 sound. Ji Tianqing stepped through the city gates and entered Spirit Flame City for the first time. As soon as he entered the city, he saw a straight and wide road that led straight to the center of the city. Spirit Flame City followed the layout of human cities 1,000 years ago. The city was squarish and the roads in the city were straight. The roads of different sizes crisscrossed and were easy to identify. Even if it was someone's first time entering the city, as long as they were not too stupid, they would not get lost. Ji Tianqing walked on the main road and looked around curiously. On both sides of the main road were rows upon rows of houses and buildings. Most of them were 2 to 3-story shops that sold elixirs, weapons and equipment, talisman materials, and even demon beasts and spirit beasts. Ji Tianqing strolled around the city for an hour and felt that this ancient city was basically similar to the cities of the mortal world. However, the people living in the city were all martial artists. The trades and professions in the city were also closely related to martial arts. Moreover, on both sides of every main road in Spirit Flame City, there were statues of human powerhouses. Those statues were more than 5 meters tall and the carvings were lifelike. The people carved were also of different shapes and sizes. There were white-haired old men, stalwart middle-aged men, and benevolent old women. Ji Tianqing knew that these ancient statues were of the ancestors of Spirit Flame City and the 8 sections. They were all powerhouses who dominated the region. Apart from that, there were also many large relief sculptures on the walls of some palaces and tall buildings. The people and scenery on the relief sculptures were all very lifelike. They depicted legends and stories of powerhouses slaying demons and devils, traveling through clouds and rain, and bestowing kindness to the people of the world. When Ji Tianqing passed by those relief sculptures, he would stop and look at them for a while. It was early in the morning and the entire Spirit Flame City was still in a deep sleep. The main road was cold and cheerless. Many of the shops on both sides had yet to open. Ji Tianqing walked along the main road into the city. He was also thinking about where he should go to ask for information. News and legends about the heavenly star bead were widely spread in the ancient realm of stars. Many great forces and experts had heard of this legend. Once news of the heavenly star bead appeared, it would definitely attract the attention of various forces and experts. Therefore, he would never reveal anything related to the heavenly star bead. He just wanted to find a place to inquire about the secret of the painting. As the sun slowly rose, the sleeping flame spirit city gradually woke up. The shops on both sides of the street opened their doors one after another. Many martial artists and commoners walked onto the streets. The city gradually became lively. The cries of peddlers and the laughter of martial artists could be heard everywhere. Ji Tianqing was still strolling leisurely in the city, silently observing the situation. Unknowingly, half a day had passed. In the afternoon, after many inquiries, he finally had a plan in his heart and rushed to the Octagon restaurant in the city. The Octagon Restaurant was a force that specialized in selling and trading all kinds of information. Its name meant to be observant and alert. If you wanted to inquire about any information in the ancient realm of stars, it was definitely the right choice to go to the Octagon Restaurant. Ji Tianqing followed the directions of the passers-by and quickly found the Octagon Restaurant at the end of a quiet street. This was an octagonal pagoda that was 20 meters tall. It occupied a large area and had a magnificent aura. The entire pagoda was dark gold in color. Under the reflection of the setting sun, it emitted specks of golden light. The 8 corners of the pagoda were engraved with the statues of 8 spirit beasts. These spirit beasts were all rare and mysterious beasts. Ji Tianqing stood on the street outside the pagoda and looked up for a while. During this time, he saw a few martial artists entering and leaving the Octagon Restaurant. Those who went in had a serious or anxious expression, while those who came out had a rosy complexion and were in high spirits. Seeing this scene, Ji Tianqing smiled and stepped through the door of the Octagon Restaurant. After stepping through the door, there was a spacious and bright hall. On the left side of the hall was a tall counter. Behind the counter sat a middle-aged scholar wearing a square scarf hat and a goatee. 2 martial artists who had just entered stood in front of the counter and asked the middle-aged scholar something. The middle-aged scholar looked indifferent. He gently waved the goose feather fan in his hand and slowly explained something. Ji Tianqing walked towards the counter. When he was 5 meters away from the counter, he was stopped by a middle-aged man in black. This middle-aged man was the manager of the Octagon Restaurant. With a dignified expression, he said, "Is this your first time in our Octagon Restaurant? Don't you know the rules of our Octagon Restaurant? When Mr. Yen is talking to a guest, no one is allowed to come near." Ji Tianqing was stunned for a moment. He quickly cupped his hands and explained with an apologetic expression, "I'm sorry, it's my first time here. I hope you can forgive me for my rudeness." The middle-aged man nodded and didn't say anything else. He turned around and left. Ji Tianqing waited in the corner of the hall for a moment. After the 2 martial artists left, he walked to the counter. The middle-aged scholar, Mr. Yen, nodded slightly at him and asked slowly, "Little brother, what information do you want to ask?" Ji Tianqing didn't waste any time. He quickly took out the mountain painting and a few spirit stones from the black book and placed them on the counter. "Mr. Yen, may I ask where this place is depicted in the painting?" Mr. Yen raised his eyebrows and stared at the painting for a moment. He then raised his head and looked at Ji Tianqing carefully. He waved the goose feather fan and said in a serious tone, "Little brother, the place depicted in the painting is a famous dangerous place in the ancient realm, the Hidden Fog Mountain Range. The Hidden Fog Mountain Range is extremely dangerous. There are powerful demonic beasts and ferocious beasts entrenched there. There are also all kinds of snakes, insects, poisonous ants, and unexpected dangers. In addition, this area is shrouded in fog for many years. Even if you look down from the sky, you won't be able to see the situation in the mountain range. The fog is very strange, and it can even block the detection of spiritual sense. Many martial artists have entered the Hidden Fog Mountain Range, but most of them died. If you don't have a detailed map of the Hidden Fog Mountain Range, you will lose your way in the mountain range and never be able to walk out. Since 100 years ago, the name of this dangerous place has become more and more famous. Now, almost no one dares to enter it. Hidden Fog Mountain Range. Ji Tianqing muttered the name in his heart. He remembered Mr. Yen's words. He frowned and thought for a moment before he asked again, "Mr. Yen, where can I get a map of the Hidden Fog Mountain Range?" Mr. Yen frowned and thought for a moment before he said in a serious tone, "You can go to the market in the eastern part of the city and look for the owner of the Heavenly Eagle Casino. In the entire Spirit Flame City, only he has a map of the Hidden Fog Mountain Range. If even he doesn't have it, then no one else has it." Ji Tianqing nodded and thanked Mr. Yen before he turned to leave. However, Mr. Yen smiled and added, "However, not everyone can meet the owner of the Heavenly Eagle Casino. Chapter 266. Ji Tianqing was taken aback by Mr. Yan's words. Going to the Sky Eagle Casino to settle a matter. Is it a gamble? Mr. Yan smiled faintly, appearing somewhat enigmatic. It's a gamble, but it's not what you think. It's a wager. Ji Tianqing nodded and asked, Mr. Yan, what kind of wager is it? Mr. Yan explained slowly, the Heavenly Eagle Casino has both the money gambling on the surface and the Beast King Casino in the dark. In the Beast King Casino, there are two invincible ring masters. They are both powerful demons. You have to challenge one of the ring masters and defeat him before you can meet the owner of the Sky Eagle Casino. The owner will also fulfill one of your requests. Ji Tianqing raised his eyebrows and smiled with interest. Oh. There's such a rule. Mr. Yan, please enlighten me. How are the two ring masters? What are the rules of the challenge? Mr. Yan continued to explain, the first ring master is called Violent Bear. He's at LV5 True Energy Realm and is from the Bear Clan. Only martial artists below LV5 True Energy Realm can challenge him. The second ring master is called Aning. He's at LV5 Common Mystic Realm and is from the Wolf Clan. Only martial artists below LV5 Common Mystic Realm can challenge him. The rules of the challenge are simple. Both parties must fight with their bare hands and are not allowed to rely on external forces such as mystic weapons and talismans. Both parties are responsible for their own deaths. Ji Tianqing frowned when he heard this. A solemn look flashed across his eyes. He knew that demons were born with extraordinary combat strength that far surpassed human martial artists of the same level. A LV5 Common Mystic Realm demon expert's combat strength was comparable to a human LV6 or 7 Common Mystic Realm expert. If a human martial artist did not rely on external forces such as mystic weapons and talismans, he would not be a match for the demon. He looked at Mr. Yan and asked with a frown, if that's the case, isn't the rules set by the owner of the Sky Eagle Casino very difficult? Very few people can complete it. Mr. Yan nodded with a smile. Of course. In the past year, at least a dozen people have challenged him, but only one person has completed the challenge and met the owner of the Heavenly Eagle Workshop as he wished. The owner of the Heavenly Eagle Workshop is a mysterious expert. He also controls the market in the eastern part of the city and is one of the 3 overlords of Flame Spirit City. How can an ordinary person meet him? Ji Tianqing nodded to show that he understood. He cupped his hands at Mr. Yan and said, Thank you, Mr. Yan, for answering my questions in such detail. Mr. Yan waved his sleeve and collected the spirit stones on the counter. He smiled and said, You don't have to thank me, little brother. Octagon Inn has always done things for money. We don't cheat anyone. No matter how much you pay, you will be able to obtain the corresponding information. Go ahead. Good luck. Ji Tianqing didn't say anything more. He turned around and walked out of the hall. After leaving the Octagon Inn, he directly rushed to the Eastern Market to look for the Heavenly Eagle Casino. The sun was about to set, and the entire Flame Spirit City was bathed in a golden sunset. The number of pedestrians in the city gradually decreased, and the cries of the peddlers gradually disappeared. However, the Eastern Market was different. It was as quiet and mysterious as ever. There were 2 main streets in the market. Both sides of the streets were lined with rows upon rows of shops. They all sold weapons, equipment, elixirs, talismans, and related materials. This was the world of martial artists. Everything related to martial artists could be found here. Although there were shops in other parts of the city that sold these things, the quality of those things was far inferior to those in the market. The ancient martial art practitioners of Flame Spirit City usually bought things related to cultivation from the market. Of course, the gold and silver treasures of the secular world were useless in the market. They couldn't buy anything good. In the market, only spirit stones and gemstones could be used as currency. Martial artists who didn't have spirit stones or gemstones could only barter for items of equal value. Ji Tianqing walked along the left main street of the market. When he reached the end, he saw the magnificent Heavenly Eagle Casino. Although it was called a casino, it was actually a majestic palace that occupied an area of 1,000 meters. The interior and exterior of the palace were decorated in a grand and luxurious manner. At the entrance of the palace stood a Heavenly Eagle statue that was dozens of meters tall. The Heavenly Eagle statue was lifelike and extraordinary. It made a posture of spreading its wings and flying high in the sky. It was extremely shocking. 2 rows of black armored guards stood on both sides of the entrance. They were all at True Energy Realm 7th level. Their eyes were bright, and their auras were sharp. It was currently evening. There weren't many people in the casino, so it was relatively quiet. The casino's business was at its best after nightfall. It was the liveliest time. Ji Tianqing stepped through the entrance and entered the main hall of the casino. Before he could see the situation in the main hall clearly, a middle-aged man in black clothes walked over and greeted him with a smile. "Brother, if you want to gamble, please take a seat for a while. If you have other matters, feel free to tell me. My surname is Tian, and I'm the manager of the Heavenly Eagle Casino." Ji Tianqing nodded at him and said calmly, "Manager Tian, I came to the Heavenly Eagle Casino to seek an audience with the owner of the Heavenly Eagle Casino." "Oh. Seek an audience with our casino owner?" Manager Tian raised his eyebrows, and the smile on his face became somewhat playful. "If you wish to seek an audience with our casino owner, you must first complete a challenge. Little brother, do you know the rules of this matter?" Ji Tianqing nodded again and said, "Of course, I know. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come here so hastily." It's good that you understand." Manager Tian's smile grew wider. He extended his hand and gestured for him to enter. "Little brother, please follow me." Then, Manager Tian led Ji Tianqing to the corner of the main hall and entered through a black stone door. Behind the stone door was a dark tunnel that extended deep into the ground. Stone lamps lined both sides of the tunnel, and the ground was neat and flat. It was obvious that people came and went often. After a while, Manager Tian led Ji Tianqing to the end of the tunnel and entered a huge and spacious hall. The circular hall with a radius of 300 meters looked a little like an auction house. The hall was surrounded by high terrains, and it was filled with seats. It could accommodate at least 1,000 people. In the middle of the hall was a circular open space with a radius of 100 meters. It was like a flat pit. However, Ji Tianqing knew at a glance that it was the so-called challenge ring, which was also the arena. In a while, he would be challenging the werewolf of the demon clan named Aning in the arena. There would be many people watching the challenge from the seats around the arena and the private rooms on the second floor of the main hall. Manager Tian led Ji Tianqing through a few rows of seats and entered the arena. Ji Tianqing saw that there were 2 huge black iron doors on the north and south sides of the arena. Through the bars of the iron doors, he could see that there was a secret room inside. Chapter 267. In the dark secret room, only 2 stone lamps were lit with a dim yellow light. There were a few cracks on the stone floor of the secret room, as well as many broken holes and huge claw marks. Ji Tianqing could tell that these were the marks of the demon race or demon beasts. There was no doubt that the demon race and demon beasts who were going to participate in the arena were locked up here before entering the arena. He sat on a stone bench in the corner and muttered with a gloomy expression, "Damn bastard, he actually locked me up here like a demon beast. This should be the Beast King Casino. It seems that demon-beast duels are often held here, attracting many people to watch or gamble." Thinking of this, he raised his head and looked at the black iron door opposite him. He didn't need to guess to know that the shadow wolf he was going to challenge tonight was locked up in the secret room behind the black iron door. Ji Tianqing had read about the demon race in ancient books before. The demon race wasn't a demon beast, but a special race between humans and demons. They looked like humans, but had the characteristics of demons. It was said that the demon race's physical strength and defense were as strong as a demon beast's. Not only were their reactions quick, but they were also very resistant to attacks. If an ordinary martial artist didn't have a profound weapon, they wouldn't be able to injure a demon of the same realm. Thinking of this, Ji Tianqing raised his eyebrows and a playful smile appeared on his lips. A 5th level profound comprehension realm shadow wolf must have great strength and speed. An ordinary profound comprehension realm martial artist wouldn't be able to injure it if they fought barehanded. Fortunately, I'm different from ordinary martial artists. Without a profound weapon, I can unleash even greater combat strength. The secret room was silent as time passed by. Not long after, there were some noises and the sound of people talking. As time passed, the sound of footsteps and voices became more and more frequent. Obviously, many people were entering the arena and sitting on the spectator stands as they whispered to each other. Ji Tianqing listened attentively for a while and understood the whole story. It turned out that after Deacon Tian locked him in the secret room, he sent people to spread the news that someone was going to challenge the Shadow Wolf tonight. Many martial artists rushed to the Heavenly Eagle gambling house to watch the battle when they heard the news. Some were even prepared to place their bets. As more and more spectators poured into the arena, the noise in the arena became louder and louder. It became very lively. Ji Tianqing silently listened to the sounds coming from all around. He heard several young martial artists gathered together in the stands about 20 meters away from him, discussing something. Hee, the Beast King Casino only opens once every 10 days. Today is only the 6th day, and it actually opened again? What's so interesting about those previous fights? Every time, it's just 2 demon beasts fighting each other. Even Violent Bear and Shadow are not participating. How boring. Yes. Tonight's battle was still more exciting. There's another reckless fellow who wants to challenge Werewolf Shadow. I remember that it's been half a year since anyone dared to challenge Shadow, right? Yes. The last time someone challenged Ning, I saw it with my own eyes. That fellow seems to be an inner disciple of the true martial sect. His strength is at the 5th level of the Tongxian stage. He was quite confident before he went up the stage. Young Master Lu, what was the result? Did that kid succeed in his challenge? How could he have succeeded? Are you dreaming? That kid's outcome was even more tragic than those previous challengers. He was torn to pieces by Werewolf Shadow on the spot. Hearing this, the young martial artists exclaimed in surprise and excitement. After a while, the young martial artists calmed down and continued their discussion. Young Master Lu, since the previous challenger was a true martial sect disciple and was torn to pieces by Werewolf Shadow, won't the true martial sect pursue the matter? Pursue the matter my ass. The true martial sect's people knew about this and came to collect that kid's corpse. However, they can't do anything to the Heavenly Eagle Casino. That kid initiated the challenge voluntarily. He knew the rules before he went up the stage. He was responsible for his own life and death. The true martial sect is unreasonable. How can they pursue the matter with the Heavenly Eagle Casino? Tisk tsk, since that's the case, I'm afraid tonight's challenger will be miserable. He'll probably die without a complete corpse, right? Yes, Werewolf Shadow hasn't appeared for half a year. He must have gone crazy from holding back and only wants to kill, right? Let me remind you guys first. If you see the challenger being torn to pieces by Werewolf Shadow later, don't make a fuss. Don't be like country bumpkins who haven't seen the world. Several young warriors quickly nodded in agreement, flattering young Master Lu one after another. Ji Tianqing, who was in the secret chamber, heard the young martial artist's words clearly. His face immediately turned gloomy, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. It seems that Werewolf Shadow's combat power and bloodthirstiness have exceeded my expectations. I have to be careful. Although he only understood now how cruel the rules of the Beast King Casino were. However, he didn't regret coming to the Beast King Casino to participate in the gambling fight. When he decided to investigate the hidden fog mountain and clues about the heavenly star bead, he was mentally prepared to deal with all kinds of dangers. To him, tonight's gambling fight was just the first test in finding clues about the heavenly star bead. Finally, 2 hours passed. It was already night time, and it was time to light the lamps. The Heavenly Eagle Casino was at its most lively time. The spectator stands around the arena were already filled with spectators who came to watch the fight. Even the private rooms on the second floor of the hall were basically occupied by some distinguished guests. The thousands of people around the arena were discussing excitedly, looking forward to the start of the fight. At this moment, a tall and sturdy old man in a long black robe walked into the arena with 4 men in tight robes. The old man was tall and strong, and his hair and beard were gray. He exuded a powerful and majestic aura, and his eyes swept across the arena like lightning. The 4 men in mystic comprehending realm stood behind the old man as straight as javelins, exuding a sharp aura. The thousands of people in the spectator stands immediately quietened down, and their eyes were focused on the burly old man. Many people knew this old man. His surname was Lei, and he was the chief steward of the Heavenly Eagle Casino. He was also the right-hand man of the mysterious owner. Seeing that the arena had quietened down, Steward Lei announced loudly, "I'm Lei Qianjun. Thank you all for coming. Tonight, our workshop will bring you another exciting duel. A young man at level 3 Mystic Comprehending Realm would like to meet our owner and challenge Werewolf and Ing." When his voice reverberated throughout the arena, the thousands of people were immediately stirred up and began to discuss. Lei Qianjun continued expressionlessly, "Who is this young man? What extraordinary abilities does he have? Werewolfening hasn't appeared for half a year. How will he perform? Let's wait and see. From now on, you may place your bets." Chapter 268. Lei Qianjun's words stirred the blood of nearly 1,000 people in the arena. Almost as soon as he finished speaking, countless people placed their bets. The dozen or so managers of the Heavenly Eagle Casino were scattered around the spectator stands and were immediately surrounded by the crowd. After half an hour, nearly 80% of the audience had placed their bets. There was no doubt about the result. Almost all of the audience had placed their bets on Werewolf Shadow, betting that he would win. There were a few people who had placed their bets on Ji Tianxing, but the amount of money they had placed was pitifully small. Most of them had placed their bets casually. There were even 2 people who pestered the casino manager, repeatedly claiming that they had placed the wrong bet and wanted to change it to Werewolf Shadow. All in all, nearly 1,000 people in the arena were certain that the outcome of the duel had been decided before it even began. A human youth at level 3 of the Tongxian stage dared to challenge Werewolf Shadow, who was at level 5 of the Tongxian stage. This was no longer a challenge, it was a suicide mission. The previous challenger was a young genius at level 5 of the Tongxian stage, but he had also been torn to pieces by the Shadow Werewolf. The audience in the arena was discussing the outcome of the youth who had challenged Werewolf Shadow tonight. Would he be torn to pieces? Or would he be turned into a pile of minced meat? The audience was filled with anticipation, their eyes fixed on the arena in the middle of the hall. When the half hour was up, Lei Qianjun announced that the bets would be stopped. The dozen managers left one after another. Then, the 4 men behind Lei Qianjun walked to the north and south sides of the arena and opened the black iron doors. On the south side of the arena, 2 men in black brought Ji Tianxing out of the secret room and stood in the middle of the arena. Countless people in the audience immediately focused their attention on Ji Tianxing. The crowd looked at him condescendingly, revealing mocking and pitiful sneers as they whispered to each other. TSK, a teenager is about to be torn to pieces by a werewolf. What a pity. Sigh. This kid has reached the Tongxian stage at such a young age. He can be considered a young genius. What a pity that he's about to die. Hee, I placed a bet of 5 spirit stones. That's all I have. That brat must lose, or else I'll go bankrupt. I also bet 2 million taels of silver. That was all of my family's assets that I tried my best to gather. Don't worry, that kid is dead for sure. Werewolf Shadow will definitely win. In the east corner of the stand sat a middle-aged man in a blue robe. This man had a resolute face and a tall and sturdy figure. He was Ling Yunfei's father, the head of the Ling family, Ling Sihai. More than a month ago, he had secretly left the Green Cloud Imperial City and arrived at the ancient Star Realm. In order to avenge Ling Yunfei, he thought of a way to sneak into Yanling City. He had already stayed in Flame Spirit City for a month, secretly making arrangements and recruiting a few experts. Originally, he had planned to slowly plan in Flame Spirit City and wait for the right opportunity to take revenge on Ji Tianqing. However, he did not expect that he would actually see that familiar figure when he came to the Heavenly Eagle Casino to watch a battle. When he saw Ji Tianqing walk into the arena, he immediately revealed a shocked expression and widened his eyes. Ji Tianqing. It's him. After being stunned for a moment, he regained his senses and the expression on his face immediately changed to one of ecstasy and excitement. Why is he here? Ha ha ha. I've searched high and low for him, only to find him by sheer luck. I didn't expect to meet him here. Ling Sihai was filled with excitement as he roared in his heart. His eyes shone brightly. This is great. I was still thinking of how to kill him. I didn't expect him to court death by challenging Werewolf Shadow, a level 5 mystic comprehending stage martial artist. Ha ha ha, Ji Tianqing, you'll be torn to pieces by Werewolf Shadow soon. I'm really looking forward to it. He sat steadily in his seat and watched the battle with a smile. He was waiting to see Ji Tianqing being torn to pieces and dying without a complete corpse. At the same time, the black iron gate on the north side of the arena opened. Two men in tight robes pulled a thick iron chain and dragged Werewolf Shadow into the arena. The moment Werewolf Shadow appeared, everyone's gaze gathered on it. Cheers and shouts erupted from the spectator stands. Many people were cheering for Werewolf Shadow, telling him to win and tear Ji Tianqing to pieces. After all, these people had placed a lot of bets on Werewolf Shadow. While the crowd was cheering, Ji Tianqing also stared at Werewolf Shadow, silently sizing it up. This was the first time he saw a werewolf of the demon clan, so he couldn't help but take a few more glances. Werewolf Shadow was nearly 2 meters tall and walked upright like a human with both feet on the ground. Its legs and hands were very thick and strong, and its black nails were as sharp as daggers. Its legs were shackled with black iron shackles and its neck was tied with a thick black iron chain. As it walked, it made a clanking sound. Shadow's entire body was covered with a layer of dark gray hair, which could cover its important parts without wearing clothes. Below its neck, its body looked very similar to a human's, except that it was covered with hair and was thicker. However, its head was a sharp wolf's head, and it had a wide and long wolf's mouth. Its green eyes flickered with a cold light. So this is the werewolf of the demon clan. Ji Tianqing murmured to himself. Two men in tight robes pulled Werewolf Shadow to the center of the arena. They reached out and untied the iron chain on its neck and legs, allowing it to regain its freedom of movement. It quickly twisted its neck and legs to move its body. Its eyes were fixed on Ji Tianqing, revealing a bloodthirsty light. At this moment, Lei Qianjun announced loudly, "The challenge begins now." After he finished speaking, he quickly left the arena with his 4 bodyguards. In the wide and flat arena, only Werewolf Shadow and Ji Tianqing were left, facing each other from 100 steps away. Both of them stared at each other with cold eyes, secretly accumulating their strength, ready to launch a thunderous attack at any time. Ji Tianqing silently channeled the true yuan in his body, causing it to surge faster. It was like a raging river, containing a surging power. Werewolf Shadow slowly bent down, lowering its head and emitting a powerful and cold aura. Seeing its movement, everyone realized that this was the precursor to an attack. It was finally going to attack. Ji Tianqing secretly clenched his fists and stared at it, ready to counterattack at any time. Awoo! At this moment, Werewolf Shadow let out a sharp howl. Its body was like an arrow, leaving behind a series of gray shadows, rushing towards Ji Tianqing. Its speed was so fast that no one could see its movements clearly. They only felt that it had turned into a gray shadow. Swoosh! In the blink of an eye, it had rushed over 100 steps and arrived in front of Ji Tianqing. It stretched out its thick and strong hands, opened its sharp wolf claws, and ruthlessly clawed at Ji Tianqing's head. The werewolf tribe was indeed ferocious. It wanted to tear apart Ji Tianqing's head and kill him on the spot. Ji Tianqing was already prepared. Although he was surprised by the shadow's speed, he did not panic. He immediately used the shadow step, and with a swoosh, his body flashed 3 meters to the side, narrowly avoiding the shadow's wolf claws. The shadow's attack missed, but its movement did not slow down, and its footsteps did not stop. It twisted its body and pounced to the side, once again stretching out its sharp wolf claws and ruthlessly clawing at Ji Tianqing's head. Chapter 269. Seeing that Ji Tianqing was about to be hit by the wolf's claws, even if he didn't die, he would be seriously injured. What a vicious beast! He cursed in his heart, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. At this critical moment, he did not hesitate to activate 2 sword auras and slashed at the werewolf shadow's 2 front claws. Swish swish! 2 golden sword auras appeared out of thin air and instantly pierced the shadow's front claws, causing 2 muffled sounds. Ji Tianqing was not injured at all, but the 2 golden sword auras were sent flying backward and stabbed into the rocky ground. The werewolf shadow was also shaken to the point that its body was trembling, and its feet took a few big steps back before it could stabilize itself. It looked down at its palms and found that there was a bloody hole in each of its palms, and dark red blood was constantly flowing out. This result stunned it for a moment, and then it immediately let out an incomparably angry howl. The spectators around the stands, seeing that the werewolf shadow was injured by Ji Tianqing, were all shocked and exclaimed in disbelief. No one would have thought that the werewolf shadow would be injured at the beginning of the duel, and both sides had only exchanged 2 moves. In many of the previous duels, the werewolf shadow had also suffered light or heavy injuries. However, its opponent would definitely suffer more severe injuries, and even pay the price with their lives. For a moment, many spectators were stunned. After coming back to their senses, everyone shouted loudly, cheering for the werewolf shadow, encouraging it to fight back and tear Ji Tianqing to pieces. Unfortunately, how could the werewolf shadow understand human language? It ignored the reactions of the spectators around it, and its eyes were gloomy and resentful as it stared at Ji Tianqing, and its mouth let out a furious roar. "You damn bastard! How could you injure me? You're dead. I'm going to twist your head off and smash it bit by bit. I'm going to cut your body into 8 pieces and smash it into a pile of meat paste. Only in this way can I dispel the hatred in my heart." Its tone was full of resentment, but unfortunately, it was speaking the werewolf tribe's language, and no one could understand it. The shadow was completely enraged, and a thick gray fog surged out of its body. Apparently it had activated all of its strength. Swish! Its figure flashed, and turned into a gray shadow, and pounced at Ji Tianqing from the side, waving its front claws to attack again. Ji Tianqing immediately used his shadowless steps. His body twisted strangely a few times, and he dodged An Ying's attack and retreated 5 meters back. Swish! The shadow's speed did not decrease, and its figure, and continued to attack Ji Tianqing from the side. Its speed was extremely fast, far surpassing Ji Tianqing's shadowless steps. It was so fast that Ji Tianqing couldn't see its movements clearly. Ji Tianqing's expression suddenly became serious. His eyes were fixed on An Ying as he retreated once again. The 2 of them chased each other in the arena, and an intense and exciting battle unfolded. The spectators around the stands could only see the two of them turning into two blurs, darting left and right, and flashing back and forth. Experts at level 5 of the Tongxian realm could still see the two's movements and tricks. Martial artists below the Tongxian realm could not even see their faces clearly, and all they could see were blurry blurs. Ji Tianqing narrowly dodged 5 attacks in a row. Finally, when Shadow launched its 6th attack, he failed to dodge its sharp claws. Rip! The sound of clothes being torn rang out. The white robe on Ji Tianqing's chest had a few holes, and a few pieces of cloth fell off. The holes in the white robe revealed the dark golden sun soft armor, and there were a few deep claw marks on its surface. Ji Tianqing was not injured, but his expression changed, and his eyes became serious. What a fast speed! This werewolf's attack is very similar to the demon race's movement technique. It can turn into a blur of gray mist. No wonder it's called the Shadow. No, I can't dodge anymore. Even with the protection of the golden sun soft armor, I will be torn apart by the Shadow soon. These thoughts flashed through his mind, and his whole body emitted a strong fighting spirit. He had made up his mind to use his true strength and unique skills to fight the werewolf Shadow head-on. At the same time, the werewolf Shadow turned into a blur of gray mist again, and rushed over as fast as lightning. This time, it did not use its claws to attack Ji Tianqing's head and neck. Instead, it shot out 12 gray mist blades from its palms towards Ji Tianqing. Swish! 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 The 12 gray mist blades were like 12 sharp arrows, shooting towards Ji Tianqing's head, neck, and chest. Ji Tianqing originally thought that it would attack at close range, but he did not expect it to use the human martial artist's attack technique, controlling the sword to attack from a distance. Caught off guard, he almost got hit. Fortunately, he was fast enough and managed to dodge them in time, brushing past the 12 gray mist blades. Ding! 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 The gray mist blades missed and stabbed into the rocky ground, immediately cutting 12 long and narrow gullies in the ground. Despicable and cunning beast, go to hell! Ji Tianqing shouted angrily. He activated 3 golden sword rays, and used his unique skill to attack the Shadow. Thousand Feather Blade. The 3 sword auras immediately split into 9, and with the speed of an aurora, they began to attack from all directions and angles, aiming at the vital points of Ying's body. Swish! 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 The 9 sword rays lit up with dazzling sword rays, creating countless blurs, like a rain of arrows, and shrouding the Shadow. The Shadow's expression changed drastically, and its green eyes showed great shock. Obviously, it had never seen a Tongxian realm human martial artist use such a powerful attack. At the critical moment, it dodged without hesitation, and waved its claws to block the sword rays. Bam! 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 A series of muffled sounds were transmitted to the spectator stands around the arena. After 5 breaths, the 9 sword rays finally dissipated. Only then did the spectators in the spectator stands see the Shadow's appearance clearly. It was still standing in the arena, and had not fallen. But its body was covered with crisscrossing wounds, and dark red blood was gushing out, dyeing its gray fur red. It looked to be in a miserable state, and had completely turned into a bloody wolf. If one looked closely, they would find that its body had been hit by at least 100 sword rays, leaving more than 100 wounds. If it were a normal human martial artist, with such serious injuries, they would have no strength to continue fighting. But the Shadow was a demon, and a werewolf, one of the more vicious and cunning demons. It gritted its teeth and endured its injuries, and it actually let out a shrill howl. It charged at Ji Tianqing even more crazily, and launched a counterattack. Ji Tianqing could clearly see that its green eyes were dyed red with a layer of blood, and it was filled with bloodthirst and madness. The demon race's combat ability is indeed strong. It can still fight after being injured like this. Chapter 270. Gale Lightning Strike. Ji Tianqing stared at Ning, who had turned into a blur and was charging at him. He then performed the second move of the Flying Star Sword technique with all his might. Two golden sword auras that were more than 2 meters long slashed towards the shadow from the left and right. Swish! Swish! In an instant, the two sword rays flew 10 meters away and struck the shadow from both sides. They turned into a golden thunderbolt and struck the shadow. Kaboom! The deafening sound was like a thunderclap, reverberating in the spacious hall. The huge golden thunderbolt scattered the gray shadow on the spot and sent it tumbling backward. It fell to the ground 10 meters away, its life or death unknown. The golden thunderbolt struck the rocky ground, creating a half-meter deep and 2-meter wide crater. Gravel and dust mixed together and splashed in all directions. The ground of the arena shook violently as if an earthquake had occurred. The spectators on the spectator stands widened their eyes as if they had seen a ghost. Their faces were filled with disbelief. The thousands of spectators in the hall did not make a single sound. They were all silent. Everyone was dumbfounded. The thousands of spectators on the spectator stand stared at Ji Tianqing in shock. They could not believe what they had just seen. A young man at the third level of the Tongxian stage could execute such a terrifying sword technique? He could actually injure the fifth level of the Tongxian stage werewolf shadow to such an extent that it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. The werewolf shadow's combat ability was comparable to an expert at the 6th or 7th level of the Tongxian stage. How did he do it? This was too unbelievable. While everyone was still in shock, Ji Tianqing had already walked up to werewolf shadow's side and looked down at it condescendingly. The werewolf shadow was covered in blood. There was a huge sword wound on its chest that had broken its sternum and extended all the way to its abdomen. White bone stubble could be seen from the wound, and dark red blood gushed out continuously. What surprised Ji Tianqing was that the werewolf shadow did not die on the spot even though it had suffered such a serious injury. It was in a dazed state and was about to pass out. Its body was twitching unconsciously and its claws were scratching the ground desperately. However, it had completely lost its ability to fight and could not even stand up. Without a doubt, Ji Tianqing had won, and he had won thoroughly. The thousands of spectators in the stands finally came back to their senses. Everyone let out exclamations and shouts, trying their best to vent the shock and disbelief in their hearts. There were even more people who lost their bets, and because of this, lost their entire family fortune. They were so angry that they were about to go crazy. Some people cried out in surprise, some people shouted in disbelief, some people roared in anger, some roared in madness. The entire hall fell into chaos. The deafening sound waves reverberated in the hall, causing everyone's eardrums to hurt. In the east corner of the grandstand, Ling Sihai sat stiffly in his seat, his hands tightly grasping the armrest of the chair, and the blue veins on his forehead bulged. He stared at Ji Tianqing with his eyes wide open, his expression extremely ugly. How is this possible? He's only been in the Sky Pillar sect for a few months. How could he have reached the third level of the Profound Enlightening Realm and even defeated a fifth-level Profound Enlightening Realm werewolf? Why? Why did Ji Tianqing, that little bastard, grow so quickly? Ling Sihai's expression was hideous and twisted. His eyes were spewing flames of anger as he cursed in his heart. Just a moment ago, when he saw Ji Tianqing, he was wild with joy, thinking that he would be able to see Ji Tianqing die without a complete corpse. However, the result was completely out of his expectations. Ji Tianqing had actually defeated Werewolf Ning. How could he believe this? How could he not be mad with anger? After a long time, Ling Sihai's hideous expression finally calmed down, and his eyes returned to their cold and gloomy state. He glared at Ji Tianqing with resentment and cursed in his heart, "Little bastard, I didn't expect you to have grown to this extent. However, I've already made preparations. No matter what, you'll definitely die." Instead of staying in the sky pillar sect obediently, you walked right into a trap and ran to Flame Spirit City. This is the will of heaven. The day you leave Flame Spirit City will be the day of your death. At the same time, Lei Qianjun quickly walked into the arena with 4 bodyguards. The 4 bodyguards quickly walked to Ji Tianqing's side and carried the unconscious werewolf Aning away. Lei Qianjun raised his hand and motioned for the audience in the stands to quiet down. Everyone. This young man was able to defeat werewolf Aning. This is really beyond my expectations. This is simply a miracle. I'm also very surprised. After so many years in charge of the Beast King Casino, this is the first time I've met such an outstanding young man. However, since everyone has already placed their bets, then you must accept your loss. If anyone dares to take this opportunity to cause trouble, humph. He did not finish his sentence, but the nearly 1,000 audience members in the arena knew what he meant. In Flame Spirit City, no one dared to cause trouble without reason. Finding trouble with the Heavenly Eagle Casino was no different from seeking death. Many of the audience members had lost so badly that they had lost their family fortune. They all had mournful faces and looked as if they had lost their parents. However, no matter how angry and sorrowful they were, they could only endure it. Tonight's duel had come to an end. More than a dozen managers entered the hall with hundreds of bodyguards. They maintained order around the stands to ensure that the audience left in an orderly manner and that no accidents would occur. Lei Qianjun turned his head to look at Ji Tianqing, who was next to him. He smiled in appreciation and nodded at him. Young man, you're really amazing. Your duel with Werewolf Aning just now was an eye-opener for me. Let's go. I'll bring you to see our boss now. If you have any wishes, just say it. The boss will definitely fulfill them. After that, he led Ji Tianqing out of the arena and through a secret passage to see the boss of the Heavenly Eagle Casino. Logically speaking, Ji Tianqing had severely injured Werewolf Aning to the point of near death. It would take at least half a year for him to recover. Lei Qianjun should be angry or worried. However, he was in an extremely good mood. He could not hide the smile on his face and his attitude towards Ji Tianqing was very amiable. Ji Tianqing guessed the reason. It must be because of his miraculous victory that made thousands of audience members lose everything. The Heavenly Eagle Casino made a huge profit. No one would know how much the Heavenly Eagle Casino had made tonight. However, Ji Tianqing could guess that it must be an astronomical figure. About half an hour later, Lei Qianjun brought him to the depths of the Heavenly Eagle Casino. They entered a magnificent palace. In the brightly lit main hall, there were musical instruments and women singing. The rich aroma of wine and meat wafted in the air. When Ji Tianqing followed Lei Qianjun into the main hall, he saw more than a dozen beautiful young women wearing thin silk dresses dancing in the hall. On the throne at the head of the hall, there was a tall and sturdy man with white hair and beard. He was sitting on the throne with great confidence. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.